Righto, we're going to kick off. Right. Welcome to the October Ordinary Council meeting of Dubbo Regional Council. I advise that this meeting is being streamed live to the internet. All those present should refrain from making any defamatory statements, and upon joining these online meetings, you accept the condition that your image may be recorded and streamed to the internet, as well as being retained in the archive of the recorded council meetings and standing committee meetings. I now open the October Ordinary Council meeting, the time being 5:30 p.m. First up, we have the prayer by Councillor Butler, please.
All right, let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you again for this time tonight. We thank you that we can gather together to deliberate and to debate on the various issues that are before us. I pray, Lord, in all our deliberations and debate that we would be mindful of that you are watching us, Lord, that you are the one that brings divine order, and we just pray that you would help us to be in unity and to be kind and compassionate to each other and to make really good quality decisions. In Jesus' name, amen.
Thank you. Acknowledgement of country by Councillor Ryan. Or Councillor Wells, whoever's doing it.
We're not going to fight over it. Look, yeah, I'd just like to acknowledge traditional custodians of the land on which we meet tonight, being the Tabaga people from the Wiradjuri Nation. I'd like to pay my respects to elders past, present and emerging. And I'd like to pay my respects to everyone that's here in this building tonight as we come together and sit as one to move forward with our council matters. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is CCL 25/261, leave of absence. There have been no apologies received and all councillors are present, and Councillor Ivey is attending by audio-visual link. CCL 25/262, conflicts of interest. Do any councillors have any conflicts that they wish to declare? There being none. CCL 25/263, public forum. I'll now run through the rules of public forum. Speakers will have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. When you come forward to speak, please state your name and the item that you are speaking to. When you have 30 seconds remaining, you'll hear a bell rung by myself, and at 5 minutes you'll hear the bell rung multiple times, the microphone will be turned off, and you will conclude speaking. Registered speakers will be asked to speak first, followed by members of the gallery who may wish to speak if time allows. Gallery members should refrain from any disruptive behaviour, including clapping or jeering. I'll now call the following registered speakers. First up, we have Mary Kovac, please.
Good evening. Thank you, councillors and interested members of the community for the opportunity to speak this evening. I would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional owners of this land and pay my respect to their elders, past, present and emerging. I'm here as a resident of Dubbo for approximately 27 years with a sustained interest in tree planting and the enhancement of green spaces through this period, and now am a member of the Dubbo Needs Trees group. My involvement includes active participation in Dubbo bush care and river care initiatives, particularly those focused on riparian zones within the urban area. Additionally, I have contributed to projects along the Margaret Crescent Railway Corridor and supported various tree plantings across Dubbo. My appreciation for our open space is profound, and I firmly believe that they present opportunities for further improvement. Likewise, I see a clear need for the ongoing enhancement of our urban landscape. This includes updating current tree plans with the latest audit data and suggested approaches with the recent recommendations made in the following study. I was pleased to see Dubbo Regional Council's engagement with the Smart and Cool Places project in collaboration with the former Department of Environment and Planning and the University of New South Wales. This study is particularly noteworthy. It utilises climate data from 2019-20, which represents one of the most challenging conditions that we have had recently faced, with drought, extreme heat and water shortages. I'm sure we all remember this. The findings of this study offer a sobering perspective on the realities confronting Dubbo residents, especially in regard to the challenges of managing heat, the mitigation strategies outlined, particularly those calling for an increase in tree canopy cover and associated plantings, as well as the expansion of green spaces, are crucial. Beyond this, the introduction of shading structures, micro-misting systems, and designated heat refuges are innovative measures which are probably going to be very new to us in the future. It is also worth noting that dark roofing materials and artificial grass should no longer have a place in our area. This report is timely as we now have the National Climate Risk Assessment report having been released in the last month by the feds. No surprises, it just reinforces the realities of what we will face and the need to deal with this in all aspects of council plans. I hope the council's planning staff are empowered to implement these recommendations in new subdivisions and then the provision of infrastructure that include greenery. Also, I advocate for increasing open space and street tree plantings with robust systems for reporting and monitoring these efforts across our local government area. There are some recommendations that also can inform the best plantings to deal with our drying and hot climate that can be incorporated into updating our street tree master plan for Dubbo. The current Dubbo Regional Street Tree Planting Program is a really helpful guide to tree planting activities. It offered a strong foundation at its inception. However, it's been impacted by our 2019 20-year disaster years, along with subsequent tree removals, and would benefit from an update. Ideally, an annual report should be produced detailing tree planting, removal, destruction and priorities for future action. Even in my own street, I have observed residents removing street trees and in some cases trees being removed elsewhere in Dubbo simply to improve views. It is encouraging to see that Council's website is planning a 2026 tree planting initiative. We certainly support that this start in autumn as the optimal time for planting. With recent years dominated by the La Nina climate cycle, we have seen some success in spring plantings, but ideally this program of planting should be updated with the most recent recommendations made with the University of New South Wales work, and we as interested parties can input into future actions with clear goals to increase canopy cover in the urban areas. Looking ahead, I'm eager to explore ways in which we as a community can collaborate with Council on planning and reporting and enhance the greening of the Dubbo. Updating the master plan is fundamental. I understand there is a potential for a new volunteer program to be introduced, which we certainly support. Finally, I wish to acknowledge the contributions of Murray Wood for his work with Parks and Land Care during the days of Dubbo City Council. While the Gymea Lily is now present in town, remind us of your work, Murray. I wish you all the best in Coffs Harbour and dealing with the blueberries that we all know about. Thank you for the opportunity to address Council, and I'll no doubt be talking about more planning issues for trees in the future. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Mrs. Margaret McDonald on pest bird species.
Mr. Mayor, councillors and staff and members of the community, I'm wearing a medal tonight because I know very well.
Just speak into the mic so everyone online can
I
hear.
have to show it to you. I know very well that you're very impressed by people who wear medals and that you pay attention to their words with the deepest of respect. So now I just wanted to do a quick review of the Indian miners. I know I've spoken about them before, and you all know that if we don't control the spread of them, that we will have no native birds in our city or in our environment at all. So just to recap what I forgot to say I'm Dubbo Environment Group President, and Dubbo Environment Group runs the Dubbo Indian Miner Control Program. So that program this year in September, we had eradicated 7,180 Indian miners. That's in the Central West Local Land Services region. And we have distributed 274 individual traps. So knowing that you have done a survey and I knew nothing about it, and I couldn't communicate that survey to our probably 1,000 followers in this LGA, makes me wonder about the efficiency of that survey. I know that before this new council last year, we had a survey on the policy for tree preservation of private trees, and that survey, according to the staff, cost $30,000. $30,000 would buy me, or this group, 6 aviary traps on trailers, and we could put each one of those at one of our villages in this LGA. It's just something to think about when you're spending money on reports and surveys. The last weekend I was at Bathurst. This is just a different perspective I'd like you to consider as a visitor. And I walked along the river. They have a beautiful river track like we have. And I attended a music event on one of their small farms, which has acres of rolling lawns and gardens. The blackbird, which is a feral English bird, outnumbered the native species 100 to 1. And every time a person like myself, and I know I'm not an ordinary person because I'm a greenie, but to see those feral birds is saddening. And it's similar to seeing an environment where people have just dropped litter. You look at an environment where there are feral birds proliferating and you say to yourself, this community is not looking after its environment. It's like litter being left alone around the streets and not being collected. So when I go out to the golf club and play my 18 holes of golf, I can count up to 25 native species. I know there are now 3 Indian miners out there, and I know there are European pigeons in the golf club and underneath the solar panels. So those birds are all at risk, and we're not looking after our environment if we let those birds spread. Our Indian Miner Facebook page now has 5,000 members, and we hear from those people that the Indian miners are spreading from north of Dubbo right through to the Gold Coast. They also refer to different councils, and they'll talk about councils that have bounties on birds, or where you can hire traps, where you can borrow traps, or where you get other support. So I'll just complete that by thanking you for letting me speak tonight, and I invite you all to please include our group. We have a lot of experience. We've been operating for 3.5 years, and to remind you that, yes, I wear a medal. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. McDonald. Next up, we have Peter Duggan on the draft Dubbo Regional Housing Strategy, please.
Thank you. My name's Peter Duggan. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and councillors. I'm wishing to speak to an item that's not on the agenda for tonight's meeting, but one I feel is quite urgent and important. It is in response to Council's draft regional housing strategy, which is currently on public exhibition. In short, the housing strategy broadly outlines how Dubbo will meet the expected demand for 5,000 additional dwellings over the next 15 to 20 years. This demand, it appears, is most easily met in a place like Dubbo, with a number of urban release areas already earmarked for subdivision and development. These areas around the fringes of Dubbo, in theory, are expected to accommodate up to 22,000 dwellings. More than enough to see Dubbo through until the next century, I should think. The northwest urban release area alone is expected to yield 5,500 dwellings, the central west area off Narromine Road, 2,000 dwellings, the southwest district off the Menor Road, 3,000 dwellings, the Keswick Estate, close to 2,000 additional dwellings, and so on. All in all, there's lots of space for lots of dwellings. However, snuck in amongst these broad plans for these areas, there is a few interventions in the strategy which have earmarked parts of the existing streets of South Dubbo for rezoning and increased density. In particular, 110 new dwellings, or it would be residential units, around the Tamworth Street shops, where there are currently only 15 dwellings, and 160 new dwellings around the Boundary Road shops, where there are currently around 35 dwellings. Also, there's an intention to explore opportunities for infill development. These new planned interventions, specifically just for South Dubbo, are oddly placed in the strategy amongst the plans for the broader urban release areas. I'll point out that nothing is earmarked in the strategy for the existing areas of central, north or west Dubbo. One's thinking then recalls the push 10 years ago by council and developers for South Dubbo. Sorry, I've lost my place. Yeah, so one's thinking then recalls the push 10 years ago for South Dubbo to be rezoned, and one realises that they're at it again. So why am I speaking tonight? Basically, I'm politely asking council staff to reconsider their planned interventions in South Dubbo. It's already an area with a diversity of housing and building types, yet one rich in community, heritage, natural surrounds, and an appropriate scaled built environment. Yes, diversity and density are good intentions, yet one does not need to ruin an existing place to achieve it. 110 and 160 new dwellings might not mean much in the broader context, but it will mean much, too much, in the streets of South Dubbo. Once again, yes to diversity and density, but done in a way that respects those elements that make Dubbo a great place to live. The interventions in South Dubbo, as currently proposed, do not achieve that. There's a fantastic, friendly community already in place in South Dubbo. Let's not destroy that. But when we say no to increased development in South Dubbo, we are also saying yes to beautiful historic homes and gardens, established neighbourhood trees, friendly and interactive communities with over-the-fence generosity and playful children colouring the streets. Council would do well to model the new urban release areas on great places such as South Dubbo, and that is what I instead feel should be the goals of the housing strategy. In order to prevent them from being commuter suburbs, Council should be intending for the new urban release areas to be centres unto themselves, much like how Sydney's inner suburbs like Glebe, Newtown and Chippendale satisfy the needs of their own residents. These new areas could even have their own suburb names. Once again, yes to diversity and density, but done well and done in the right places. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's still a little bit of time remaining in public forum. If anyone in the gallery would like to speak, please step up, say your name and the item that you want to speak on or the topic, and same rules apply. Thank you.
Good evening, fellow residents, Mr Mayor, councillors and council staff. My name is Amanda Pepinell and I'm here to advocate for the reinstatement of a clear and dependable development application neighbour notification framework wherever a development application is lodged next door. In February 2019, Dubbo Regional Councillors voted to remove Chapter 1.2 of the Development Control Plan. This chapter guaranteed neighbours received direct written notice when a development was proposed next door. Now the rules sit in a broader community participation plan and state laws. The problem is simple. These less specific and neighbours do not find out about single-storey development applications next door until the building work has already started. Let me paint you two pictures. Picture one, the dream house. I've worked hard for years to buy my dream house, my forever home. It's private, peaceful and everything I ever wanted. Then one morning I hear the sound of machinery next door. A new secondary dwelling, a granny flat, is being built right on the boundary. Even single-storey developments can have major impacts. Windows overlooking living spaces, backyards exposed and privacy lost. My first notice, unfortunately, wasn't from my neighbour or the council. It was the sound of construction. Picture two, the new street. I brought an empty block on a brand new street. I take pride in setting the tone for the street. But before long, single-storey oversized houses that look like two-storey houses are appearing next door. Out of scale, out of character, blocking light and views, etc. I had no chance to object. No opportunity to suggest changes because I did not receive a neighbour notification by council. By the time I found out the approvals were already locked in, I had no chance to object. Single-storey dwellings such as granny flats, extensions, battle axe blocks, secondary dwellings can have real impacts. Every neighbour deserves a courtesy of a notification for such a development. And there is another dimension we must not ignore: mental health and community well-being. If you woke up to an unexpected developments, when your privacy is stripped away, when you feel powerless in decision-making processes that reshape your daily life, it creates stress, anxiety and frustration. Transparent processes protect not just DRC's planning integrity, but people's well-beings. And this is where the stakes get higher. If the draft housing strategy is approved with this lack of transparency, while this lack of transparency remains, residents in South Dubbo and across the LGA will not be notified of single-storey development applications. Streets will be reshaped by battle axe blocks, densities increased, shops so busy you cannot park, all without the people most affected knowing until it's too late. Please make a submission to say no to the draft housing strategy plan for South Dubbo. Yes, DRC has an online DA tracker, a development application tracker. It's a useful tool for those who knows it exists, have time to check it regularly, and are confident navigating online systems. But let's be honest, not every resident has the time, skills or internet access to monitor constantly. It is not fair to expect every neighbour to patrol a website just to protect their right to be informed. Please reinstate a dedicated development application neighbour notification framework in the Dubbo DCP that clearly defines that all development applications, not just multi-dwellings, trigger a direct written neighbour notification from council. Ensure notices are sent within 7 days of lodgement, with at least 14 days for the person to be able to respond. Provide a simple review process for anyone who believes they were not properly notified. That's really important. Provide a simple review process for anybody who believes they were not properly notified. Creating a development application neighbour notification framework for all dwellings, not just multi-level dwellings, is about fairness, transparency and respect. It ensures that all residents, whether in South Dubbo, West Dubbo, Wellington or any part of our LGA, are given the same opportunity to participate in decisions that will affect their homes and their streets. No one should wake up to find their street transformed without their knowledge. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I think we had another one. Yep. Same rules. State your name, the topic, and your 5 minutes.
My name is Les Dwyer Gray. The topic is, we all know each other by now, everybody. G'day. As you're aware, this is about the Boreas Solar Project. I was thinking the other night, while I was going about the farm, checking out stock, there has to be a way that the general public can be shown or educated about the locations that these international energy companies are trying to put solar panels and solar farms. We all know this region is not a vast, unused, infertile, damaged by agriculture or uninhabited area. It is a fertile land utilised by the owners and carefully managed by generations of families. So how can we educate the people that these locations are unsuitable, or they may be? This is where I invite you, the councillors, the elected councillors, the representatives of the communities in the Dubbo Regional Council area. I invite you to come and see for yourselves, walk the land, and get an understanding of what it is to be in our shoes and what we will have to live with for the next 30 plus years with a 278-degree view of solar panels. Yeah, you heard it correctly. 278-degree view. So we know that there will be multitude of studies conducted on the proposed site. That only if those studies fail will it be deemed unsuitable by the government. Regardless of whether you are for or against the replaceable energy systems, that doesn't really matter. You just need to come and have a look. The adjoining landholders and communities must be considered, and in the end, if we as a community and we as the landholders and the community, as I said, do not consent, then the project site should be deemed unsuitable for future replaceable energy systems. So I'm opening my arms and I'm inviting you to see our land. By doing so, we hope that you will be able to help the general public or anyone that asks gain a perspective of what these proposed sites actually are and the impacts they will have on the land and surrounding communities. We would be more than happy to show you around the entire project area and meet with other adjoining landholders as well. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. There's a couple of minutes remaining. Does anyone else that's present want to speak? Yes, same rules.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors and staff. My name's Jacob Perry, and just following up on the guys behind me here, it's quite clear that Ven Energy's Geary Solar project is not suitable for the area. It's morally wrong. Geary's a town built on agriculture, not glass panels. And we were foisted this upon us by our local member. We didn't really have a choice. And now more than ever, it's important that we have the council behind our backs. Like they do in Oberon, that's a prime example of how a council can get behind their communities, say, no, we will not cop this. Because history is a beautiful thing. You look at Gillinghall Road, a massive wind farm was down there, trashed it. We didn't see any benefit. Suntop Road, I lived down that way, trashed it, or near there. But these projects aren't delivering bang for buck. I wouldn't say it's the goose that laid the golden egg. I think it's the goose that laid the rotten egg, because we don't get any value for money out of these. Unlike a coal mine, for instance, in Mudgee, they employ hundreds of locals. They see various upgrades to their local roads every year. We don't see anything. And if you go and have a look down Maryvale Road recently, you'll find probably the most half-baked effort of a renewable company investing into our community. Tar, dirt, tar, dirt, tar. I mean, it's not like these companies are short on money. I would also implore our council, like Stop Boree and Stop Hampton have, please come along to the community sessions, if you'd call them that Ven Energy are hosting in Wongarbin in November, because we need all the support we can, because I think it's fairly clear cut that the communities of Geary and Wongarbin really do not want these projects. And there's got to be a point in time where this stops. You don't want your countryside looking like the Wellington substation all over, because that's a prime example of where poles and wires have been just crammed into a tiny area, and it looks like a wiring junkyard. Let's not turn our pristine, wonderful agricultural land into that, just so a company in Europe can make billions of dollars at our expense. That is wrong, and I would hope all of you would support us on our journey. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There's probably enough time for one other speaker. If there's anyone that wished to use that time, yep. Same deal, state your name and your topic in your 5 minutes.
My name is Elizabeth Kalkoven, and I've been living in Dubbo for about 5 years now, but I previously lived in Parkes, and proposed is a energy from waste incinerator in Parkes. And while that is not under your jurisdiction whatsoever, it is definitely something that would affect our community. The emissions proposed from this incinerator would reach 150 kilometres, and Parkes is 100 kilometres away. And we have a lot of agriculture in Parkes. We have a lot of agriculture out here. This is a energy. This is a form of energy production that has been banned in multiple countries around the world. It's a form of energy production that has been closed down in multiple countries around the world. It is being completely gotten rid of because of the harms that it brings to agricultural communities, and it is being put right next to a agricultural centre. There are people on every side of the spectrum that are opposing this. The entire community in Parkes opposes this. The entire community here, agricultural, opposes this. I'm a greenie. And it is not green. It is not green waste. The farmers here, they do not want it over their crops. It is burning plastic. That plastic is going into the air. They said that there's filters. It's not right. I just wanted to bring my passion to this council meeting and bring this issue to you guys, because this is a bigger council than Parkes. Lithgow has completely opposed it, and gotten rid, and it was proposed there, and they completely opposed it, and it was shut down. If you guys vocalize your opposition, it would help the Parkes community immensely. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much. There's just a couple of minutes left if anyone else wanted to speak. No? Okay, well, thank you very much for your attendance and participation. We'll move on to the next item, which is CCL 25/264, confirmation of ordinary council meeting minutes, meeting held 23 September 2025. Can I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Chowdhury, and seconded by Councillor Wells. Thank you. Councillor Chowdhury, would you like to speak to that at all?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other debate, councillors? There being none, I will open the voting. Please cast your votes. We might need a couple of people to press their button again. Didn't seem to work the first time. And thank you. We'll stop the voting. Carried unanimously. Next item, we have a mayoral minute. Recruitment of interim general manager. I'll now move the mayoral minute regarding the recruitment of the interim general manager. I'll read it out because it wasn't in the business papers. The recommendation is 1, that council determine the interim general manager. 2, that the interim general manager appointment be made on a contract basis commencing 5 p.m. Friday, 28 November 2025, following the conclusion of the final day of the current Chief Executive Officer, Murray Wood, and the total remuneration package be the same as that provided to the current Chief Executive Officer. 3, that the appointment of the interim general manager be made for a period of up to 12 months, noting that the recruitment of the permanent general manager role has commenced, and this appointment will cease with the commencement of the general manager or by further resolution of council. 4, that the current delegations of authority for the Chief Executive Officer that the current delegations of authority for the Chief Executive Officer will continue to apply to the Interim General Manager role from 5 p.m. 28 November 2025 until further or subsequent resolutions of Council. 5, that the power of attorney issued to the Chief Executive Officer Murray Wood be revoked at 5 p.m. on 28 November 2025. 6, that a power of attorney be drafted for the Interim General Manager commencing at 5 p.m. on 28 November 2025. 7, that Council delegate the Mayor authority to complete all actions necessary for the commencement of the Interim General Manager role, and 8, that all documentation relating to this matter remain confidential to Council. That's moved by myself and doesn't require a seconder. As this item relates to a personnel matter, Council may deal with this in confidential session under clause 4.1a of the Code of Meeting Practice. Could I have a motion that the meeting move into confidential session to deal with this, please? Moved by Councillor Cowley, seconded by Councillor Richardson. Thank you. Any debate, councillors? There being none, I'll put this motion. Electronic voting is now open. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. Under Section 10A, Subclause 2A of the Local Government Act, the mayoral minute has been identified to be discussed in closed session of Council. Can I now have someone move us into confidential session to deal with the confidential item? Moved Councillor Richardson, seconded Councillor Cowley. Any debate, councillors? Councillor Dickerson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would recommend we move it till the end of the meeting to save evacuating the public chamber and then getting them all back in after that, and just move it to defer it to the end of the meeting when we have the other confidential items.
Well, we discussed this today, and it was we'll just do it now, get it done, and then carry on with the whole of the meeting. It'll be very fast. Any other debate, councillors? There being none, I'll now put the motion to the electronic voting. Please cast your votes electronically. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. Oh, carried 8-3. I just read what was on the sheet. The streaming will now be turned off, and any members of the public will be asked to leave the chamber. The chamber will be reopened and the live stream restarted after deliberations on this matter and the resolution to be made public. And to open session, the time being 6:49 p.m. We'll now have the mayoral minute displayed on the screen. So the resolution of the mayoral minute, recruitment of interim general manager. Congratulations, Mr. Luke Ryan, on appointment as interim general manager. Next item is CCL 25/265, presentation of Council's 2024-2025 financial statements. Do I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Chowdhury, seconded by Councillor Toynton. We'll now receive a presentation from the New South Wales Audit Office up on the screen. Thank you, you're on. Oops, you've gone. Here we go. Yep, you're on. Okay, so Hong, are you presenting this one? Here we go, David Daniels. He's with us. Thank you.
Yeah, my apologies, Lord Mayor.
You're
Mr.
right.
Mayor, I should say. We just we shouldn't be a moment. We're just
Getting a screen share going. Oh, there's David. Hong's having some. Oh, we've got the HS on screen. Look, David, if you're ready to go, just go ahead with the presentation, please.
Yes, my apologies again, Mr.
You're
Mayor. We're having some technical. I'll just talk to the presentation.
Yep.
So my name's David Daniels. I'm the Audit Office Director for the Audit of Dubbo Regional Council, and I am joined by Hong Wee So, my colleague here, who's the Associate Director on the audit. Our presentation, which we plan to use, is to take you through the highlights of the Auditor General's audit work program for 2025-28 and also our upcoming local government report to Parliament. We'll then provide some high-level comments on the 2024-25 financial audit results and also aspects of Council's reported results. We'll then conclude with a Q&A session at the end. So just starting with the audit work program. So the Auditor General's most recent annual work program, 2025 to 2028, was released in August 2025. The program explains how we decide what to focus on and what we intend to cover in this 2025 to 28 period. The program covers not only financial audits, but also performance audits. The full program is available on the Audit Office's website. It's a 3-year program which gets updated annually by the Auditor General. but can be revised along the way. The key themes in our annual work program for 2025-26, these are specific areas of focus that the Auditor General has identified. They're on the efficiency and the optimal use of public resources, grants administration, major capital projects, climate-related risks and opportunities, and First Nation communities. In terms of financial audits specifically, our areas of focus will be on financial reporting, financial sustainability, so assessing the financial sustainability of councils, the internal control environment for councils, and also governance frameworks. That'll be our areas of focus for financial audits. In terms of performance audits, so performance audits assess whether the activities of government entities are carried out effectively, economically and efficiently and in compliance with relevant laws, and they're performed by a separate area within the Audit Office from the Financial Audit Branch. In the performance audit space in 2025-26, we're planning to cover long-term financial planning. So this involves a series of audits designed to evaluate the effectiveness of long-term financial plans, the effectiveness of ARICs, so in how they oversight and are supported by council, and also compliance with the integrated planning and reporting framework. So they're the areas of performance audit we're planning to cover in 2025-26. Then beyond that, from 2026 to 2028, we're planning to look at major capital projects, climate risk and adaptation, and waste management. So they're the targeted areas beyond that 25-26 period. Now, just a brief word on our local government sector Auditor General's report to Parliament. So this report brings together the results of all of our local government financial audits for 24-25, and that's due to be tabled in December of this year. This report will include comments on financial audit outcomes, financial sustainability of councils, IT, cybersecurity and artificial intelligence, major projects, and internal controls and governance. So these are all topics that will be covered in that Auditor General's report to Parliament on local government, which are planned to be tabled towards the end of the year. I'll now turn to the results of our financial audits for 2024-25. So we have completed our audit of the general purpose financial statements and special purpose financial statements. I'm pleased to report that we plan to issue clean audit opinions for council's financial statements for the year ended 30 June 2025, which means the financial statements contained no material misstatements and present fairly council's financial performance and position. Now, just looking into aspects of the financial statements, beginning with the income statement and starting with the operating result from continued operations. So council reported a positive operating result of 60 million for the year ended 30 June 2025, which was approximately double last year's result of 29.6 million. Much of this increase was due to increased grants and contributions, which increased overall by 14.6 million, and rates and annual charges revenue, which increased by 5.7 million. At the same time, council's expenditure decreased by 5.7 million, mainly due to lower expenditure on materials and services of 4 million. After deducting grants, capital grants and contributions, the net operating result before capital grants and contributions was 0.3 million, which is 3.8 million higher than the comparative period from last year. So without capital grants, council basically broke even for the year. Just moving on to cash equivalents and investments. So council had total cash and investments of 312.8 million at 30 June 2025, which is 22.1 million more than last year. This increase is generally reflected in higher externally restricted funds, which increased by 24.4 0.3 million to 216.5 million. This next graph, which I hope you can see, provides a breakup of restricted funds, externally restricted funds. So it shows that the main sources of externally restricted funds comprised sewer funds of 91.5 million, which increased by 9 million, water funds of 68.8 million, which increased by 6.4 million, developer contributions of 23.2 million, which increased by 4.9 million, and specific purpose unexpended grants of 21.7 million, which increased by 1.5 million. This graph then provides some insights on council's liquidity at 30 June 2025. In other words, on council's ability to meet its short-term payment obligations as they fall due. It shows the ratio of council's unrestricted current assets to current liabilities, less specific purpose liabilities at 30 June, what we call the unrestricted current ratio. For context, in 23-24, the average unrestricted current ratio was an average of 3.1 times for regional councils. The council's unrestricted ratio of 4.6 times at 30 June 2025 is above the average for regional councils. Lastly, a comment on council's infrastructure, property, plant and equipment. This graph shows how much council spent on renewing and purchasing IPP&E assets in 2024-25. The council acquired 97.6 million of new IPP&E assets in 2024-25, especially roads and plant and equipment. At 30 June 2025, 81.5 million of capital works was in progress. Council's overall infrastructure, property, plant and equipment assets increased by 106 million to 2.8 billion at 30 June 2025. That's after all movements, including depreciation of 59 million and revaluation increments of 79 million. In closing, Hong and I would like to thank the finance team for their cooperation during the conduct of the audit. It was much appreciated. And Mr. Mayor, we're happy to take any questions if there are any.
Thank you very much for that very comprehensive report. Any questions, councillors, for the audit team? Doesn't appear so. None online. Councillor Ivey? No. Well, thank you very much for that presentation and for all your efforts auditing the finances. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We now go back to any debate on this. The mover, Councillor Chowdhury.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to thank you to the Director, CFO and the team for the great work. Thank you.
Thank you. Further comments, debate, councillors? Councillor Ivey.
Yeah, just a question, perhaps through you, perhaps. There was a break-even situation if we excluded grants, and you think, okay, that's all right, but you know, and with grants there was a substantial surplus. But I'm still confused. When we take out the grant income, have we left in some expenses associated with the projects for which we got grants? In other words, are we comparing like with like when we say we take the grant income out, but we don't have to take any expenses out, or do we?
The CEO.
Ms. Bappingthwaite.
We do allocate capital grants to capital projects. There may be an element of that, but in general terms, that whole grant, if it's classified as capital, will be funding a capital project, which is not in our operating result.
Thank you. Councillor Ivey. Anything further?
Yeah, so I can see that perhaps some direct materials and contractors or something associated with a particular project wouldn't be in the expenses. But what about staff time, or even some of our council resources that are engaged in the project are they taken out, or are they still in there, or is it not significant one way or the other?
The CEO.
So not the way you described it there, not to that fine granularity in terms of if staff members booking their time out, it may not necessarily be captured at this point in time, may still be in the works in progress on capital works. I think Ms. Bathingthwaite might talk about that's a level of sophistication we would like to get to in the future. But that level, no. Is it going to be material in terms of affecting our result? Probably suggests not. Ms. Bathingthwaite?
We do have an element of overhead allocated to the roads program. So any roads grant does have an element of transferring those operational costs, including project management costs that are first instance costed to the profit and loss, and then we allocate it through an overhead allocation automatically through the system to roads. This hasn't been put onto as methodically as the road program has. So project costs are just the project management of a contract of that grant funding or that project.
Thank you. Councillor Ivey, further?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That answers the question.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? There being none, Councillor Chowdhury, don't need to write a reply to a couple of questions.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. I'll now put that motion. I have opened the electronic voting. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. CCL 25/266, mayoral appointments and meetings. I'll move that. Seconded by Councillor Toynton. Thank you. It's all in the report. I'll take it as read. Councillor Wells, a question.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I do have a question. In your mayoral appointments document on page 131, for Wednesday the 8th of October, you attended a meeting with Regional Council staff, Dubbo Business Chamber and the Dubbo Touch Football representation. Could you tell us more about that? Because I'm really interested in the outcome of how we can support the Junior State Cup Touch event here in February next year, so that there's suitable accommodation options for people that come to Dubbo, to the event.
Thank you. I'll give a brief intro to one of the staff, hopefully. Basically, the Chamber of Commerce, through the quarterly meeting, said that they would like to ensure that Dubbo puts their best foot forward for the next 3 years of getting the State Touch Carnival in Dubbo, because it brings so many people and dollars, not into Dubbo just itself, but also surrounding towns. So that's fantastic for the whole region. And they were really hoping to ensure that the accommodation was all in line, and that wouldn't be a weakness in the application. So we set up a meeting, and had a general manager, CEO, directors, people online, all sorts of people, and we'll throw through the CEO to one of the staff to give a further update on what the staff's activities have been. There's a lot of stuff behind the scenes. The CEO.
Ms. Brown.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for the question. It was a really good meeting, as the Mayor touched on, with Dubbo Regional Council, the Dubbo Chamber of Commerce and the Dubbo Touch Association, focusing on twofold. One, on how we can make sure that the event that's coming up in February is as accessible to the families who are coming from all over parts of New South Wales to participate, and also then to put our best foot forward to any potential rebid into the future. The Dubbo Touch Association raised concerns from the local and also the New South Wales Touch perspective about accommodation pricing, and requested support both from the Chamber of Commerce and Dubbo Regional Council to help manage this for families. We were able to explain that the good work that is done behind the scenes to provide suitable, affordable accommodation for teams coming to Dubbo, and that is through the Dubbo Visitor Information Centre concierge service, and there are many and varied low-cost options that we find for teams outside of just the standard motel accommodation, and those include, we sort of open every door and cupboard we were kind of talking about in the meeting: clubhouses, school gyms, showground accommodation, including our own here in Dubbo, private homes are sought, and that's been going on for a number of years, and there are a number of teams that continue to use that service to help lower the cost for families. We had a representative from B&B Made Easy, which is sort of a local B&B Airbnb support service, and they were talking about the impact of dynamic pricing across the booking systems, but that accommodation providers, both public and private, have a degree of control over that. So to the Mayor's point, we are working together with the Dubbo Chamber and the Dubbo Touch Association to have some joint messaging go out to accommodation providers to say, look, this event is really important for Dubbo, particularly at that time of year. It's the type of event that is absolutely supported by the new event strategy. And we ask them to consider the benefit to the broader region, as well as their own, obviously, business needs as they set their pricing for that. And we will continue to work very closely with the Dubbo Touch Association if we choose to go forward with a rebid.
And hopefully they don't kill the goose that laid the golden egg by jacking the accommodation prices too much. Councillor Wells, any further? Thank you. Further debate, councillors? If not, I'll put that motion. I've opened the electronic voting. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. CCL 25/267, mayoral expenses, September 2025. I'll move that, and seconded by Councillor Toynton. Thank you. I'll take it as read. Any debate, councillors? There being none, I will put that motion. Please cast your votes electronically. Councillor Ivey, can you just press your button again, please? We're having a bit of trouble this end. Councillor Ivey still online. Just checking we don't have a technical problem here. Councillor Ivey, just press that button again, can you please? It's coming from a long way away. Councillor Ivey, if you're still online, can you just turn your camera on so that we know that you're there, please? Carry on. We'll draw a line there. Hopefully Councillor Ivey can get back on, but I'll close the voting, noting that Councillor Ivey's dropped out due to technical difficulties. Carried unanimously, but 10-0 with Councillor Ivey dropping offline. The next item is CCL 25/269, 2024-2025 Annual Report, Dubbo Regional Council. Do I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Chowdhury. Oh. I did two, got two at once, sorry. CCL 25/268, investment under section 265 of the Local Government Act, September 2025. Moved by Councillor Chowdhury, seconded by Councillor Toynton. Councillor Chowdhury, would you like to speak to that at all?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further councillors? No. I will put the motion. Please cast your votes electronically. We'll just wait for a second and see if Councillor Ivey's back online to vote. Doesn't look like he is, so we'll close that off. Carried unanimously, 10-0, noting Councillor Ivey left the meeting due to some difficulties. CCL 25/269, 2024-2025 Annual Report, Dubbo Regional Council, moved by Councillor. Who we got? Wright, seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to that?
No, I don't think so, Mr. Mayor. I think I know some minor typographical issues in there, which I think are going to be attended to prior to release of that document. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Cowley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. Very comprehensive annual report, as it should be for an organisation of our size. Just on page 199 of our business papers, there's a it lists there $10,928 and a bit of change in unrecoverable charges. Could somebody please tell me what's the nature of these charges?
The CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. These are properties that are made non-rateable during the year. So these properties are due to change or purchase by an organisation that is non-rateable, such as churches and government agencies. So if they purchase, we have to write off the rate because now it's non-rateable.
Councillor Cowley, is that anything further? A follow-up?
To think about that a little bit.
Don't have to.
Maybe next meeting. On pages 208 and 209 of that same report, it notes that collectively Dubbo Regional Council contributed $281,000 again and change to financially assist other organisations. And I just wondered if perhaps through you, Mr. Mayor, one of the directors might be able to tell me how this compares with other years.
To the CEO.
Ms. Brown.
Thank you through you, Mr. Mayor. It's a significant increase, which over the previous years, which is great. 2022-23, $166,000, 23-24, $246,101, and the reference you made, $282,722.46, and we are budgeted this financial year to spend $250,000 in our community grants program, which you are underway in distributing. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cowley again.
Thank you. I apologise for my dodgy maths. It's never been my strong suit. How do we get to those figures? What's the variation? What's that? How does that come about?
The CEO.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I'll throw to Ms. Bathingthwaite. There's a rollover from years of unspent monies, but I'll throw to Ms. Bathingthwaite for any further detail.
Through you, Mr. Mayor. Yes, it is. We allocate $250 per year. So if funds are either unexpended, they could be just that they haven't been. They might be allocated in the year, but they're not expended. So therefore, we carry them over to make sure those funds are there for the budget in the next year. So you notice that the amounts that Ms. Brown read out, there was a low year. So just looking at the figures and assuming how we normally do it, those funds would have just rolled into the next year so that we can allocate $250 over in its entirety.
Councillor Cowley. Further? No. Any further debate? Councillors, Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to thank our whole council team done this fantastic report. Very comprehensive. So page 161, there was a 20 action been deferred and 4 action been cancelled. If someone can kindly in from the community why that been deferred and cancelled. Thank you.
The CEO.
Their reports we provide the 6 monthly. So I'll give an example just without looking at the report. So one that was cancelled, you may recall, we had in the original operational plan via resolution of council to deliver Blue Ridge Link Road Stage 1. From community consultation and working with the stakeholders up there, council resolved differently, even though it was already in the adopted operational plan. So through that consultation, council then made another decision. No, we're not going to go that. That's going to be put for a future year, and we'll focus on reconstructing Sheraton Road. So they're the type of things that get cancelled very consciously, not just because staff say we don't want to do them. that is typically how those go. Some for the delays, for example, typically things might drift over a year. Typically they're capital works and other programs, but I might throw to Ms. Brown if she has the detail on those specifics.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. CEO, we can certainly provide the finer detail, and we can reissue the report outlining the detail in that to councillors.
Thank you. Councillor Chowdhury, further? Anything further, councillors? Councillor Butler.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to draw our attention and thank the council for their very important work in detecting slavery in any part of the organisation. On page 197, it does talk about the aim is to implement to ensure abolition of modern slavery within any parts of the utilised supply chain. The aim plan is to devoid organisation of any known unknown exposure or exploitation of any form of modern slavery or human trafficking. It includes the organisation itself. The plan highlights and activities completed during the financial year. Council is committed to creating effective systems and controls to safeguard against any form of modern slavery taking place within the business or supply chains. So I just wanted to thank, that's a wonderful statement that we have in our council, and I appreciate that and I commend it. I was just wondering though if council could assure me that, I mean, it would seem to be common knowledge, but maybe it's not, that the EVs that we are purchasing could indeed have in their supply chain some sort of slave labour, and is our procurement team aware of that, and are they doing things to detect that, identify those possibilities, and working to avoid them? Thank you.
To the CEO.
So certainly it's a response, and those comments in the annual report are about our response to our legislative obligations to modern slavery. And whilst we're a relatively small obligation, we are fulfilling those. You'll see the words "the action plan" in terms of how we address those. It's not just big matters where we seek to understand, is there a risk of modern slavery? More to that point, for example, we'll have our purchase card holders for those relatively small purchases, and there has been some documentation about factories in China that have used slave labour to deliver even small things that you would not consider in your normal daily life. So it is a complex space. Often we are relying on the advice from state governments who have a much greater capacity to map very complex supply chains. EVs would be, I would imagine, would be a very complex supply chain to go from a battery that goes into a car, but also all of the critical minerals that go in. So it will be an ever-evolving space, to your point, and this is but a snapshot of where we are, to fulfil our obligations. And certainly as the legislation becomes more bedded down, the regulators, state government agencies, I'm sure, will provide more assistance to local governments. We're a big local government relatively. Smaller councils will have more challenges in trying to address this. So to your point, it will be an ongoing body of work.
Further, councillors? There being none, we'll go back to Councillor Wright for a right of reply to anything there.
No, thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, I will now open the voting. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously with Councillor Ivey back with us online. Next item is CCL 25/270, the report of the Infrastructure, Planning and Environment Committee meeting 14 October 2025. Moved by Councillor Butler, seconded by Councillor Toynton. Councillor Butler, would you like to speak to that at all?
No, thank you. It seems good. Yep.
Thank you. Yep. Debate, councillors? There being none, I will put that motion. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. CCL 25/271, report of the Culture and Community Committee meeting 14 October 2025. Moved by Councillor Wells, seconded by Councillor Richardson. Councillor Wells, would you like to speak to that at all?
No, I won't on this occasion. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? Councillor Cowley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, just with regard to on the culture and community, I happened to be on page 232 there. I happened to be in Armidale for a lucky accident for the opening night of the Creative Streets Festival. And I believe it was part of the Open Streets program, which was a New South Wales government initiative that many different councils around the state applied for. And I understand that it's not our model under our current event strategy to deliver events such as the Creative Streets Festival or the other sorts of festivals that were run using this funding. But if that kind of funding program were to recur or to come up again, is there a model under which we might be able to apply for that kind of funding and run that and put in place a model?
To the CEO.
I'll throw to Mr. Arms, but I first might just give context. I'll explain the rationale of why we consider ourselves unable to apply given the constraints of the grant program, and then that future focus question. Mr. Arms.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thank you for the question, Councillor. Yes, it's a program that is available from the state government. Only councils can apply, and there are strict rules around receiving that money and obligations around it. Primarily, the councils need to organise and deliver those events. So they are running it. And so the councils that typically go for this money and get it are those councils that are structured to deliver events. But our focus, as explained in the events, in the regional event strategy, is on attracting and supporting community events, building capacity. And we have a community funding program of $250,000 and an additional $40,000 to support destination level events, which aid that. Like that, together, that's around $300,000. It's a substantial body of money there to support community events. It's not all for events, but it's certainly available there in a best proposition case scenario. So our focus is on supporting and attracting. One of the actions from the regional event strategy is to develop a business case to present what a delivering model would look like. It's a different focus to where we are now. It requires additional resources and a very different sort of slanting of priorities towards event delivery. It's a very different structure, mindset, position than supporting and attracting. So we acknowledge that there is delivering events is attractive. We've committed ourselves to looking into that and providing council with a business case of what that looks like in terms of structure and financing, and that we can consider that in due course.
Councillor Cowley, further? Thank you. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You might remember I'm a big fan of Dream Festival, and thank you, Councillor Cowley, bring that question. So through you, Mr. Mayor, if we can have the opportunity to get this, apply for this sort of fund, and can we check with the community if community can deliver this sort of a Dream Festival again in Dubbo, and then we can apply on behalf of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that a question? CEO.
Yeah, so that grant program was limited to councils to how it goes. So I think the key part is get a business case in front of the council laws to decide on that scarce resource that is our people and budget, and put that for a decision in front of you. Should that play out, then you might have some of those choices. Just to be clear, the $40,000 just didn't go into building roads. It went back into sort of supporting community funding as well. So that will be a choice for you as the elected body. I'd say within the next 12 months, there'll be that deliberation about, is this a target you want to have to deliver events? But as you heard from the audit office, our finances are constrained. We're doing okay, but it's very fine line in terms of increasing our operational expenditure. So typically we can do anything, but not everything. So what are we actually going to reduce to enable us to have an event delivery capability, if that makes sense?
Further questions, councillors? No. We'll go back to Councillor Wells for a right of reply to anything there.
No, nothing from me.
Thank you. Councillors, I've opened the voting. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. The next item is CCL 25/272, report of the Corporate Services Committee meeting 14 October 2025. We're going to have a save and accept on this one. So,
yeah, thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just an alternative motion, if I can, that the report of the Corporate Service Committee meeting held on the 14th of October 2025, save and accept CSC 25/78 be adopted. Thanks.
Thank you. Councillor Richardson to second that. Thank you, Councillor Richardson. Any Councillor Wright, anything there?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Richardson, anything that you want to speak to on that?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Other debate, councillors? There being none, we'll move that. So that's that whole report without CSC 25/78. Councillors, I have opened the voting. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. So this one is CSC 25/78, an alternative motion, a master plan for the Civic Administration Building. The council allocate $100,000 from the restricted asset budget, building asset renewal, to develop a plan and design for the Civic Administration Building.
A seconder, Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to that?
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Look, I had a bit of a think about this after the meeting last time, and it was more around the fact that look, 200,000 seemed like a fair chunk of money, but I started thinking a bit more about it. This is about developing a plan and design, not necessarily putting in place that plan and design, or constructing it, or actually moving ahead with it. So I just thought $200,000 for developing the plan and the design seemed like a significant amount of money. Certainly we put all faith and trust in staff anyway that they would. It's a hot call coming in there, Councillor Chowdhury, hopefully on this motion. Look, we do put a lot of faith and trust in our staff that they do spend the money wisely, and that was an allocated budget up to 200,000. But I just feel we can reduce that for that particular plan. No doubt something else may come before council for an expenditure item to actually initiate that plan when it comes into play. Thanks.
Thank you. Further debate, Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you. Councillor Wright is really read my phone like his residents is calling why we releasing the money. So through you, Mr. Mayor, to the CEO or the relevant staff so if we reduction that $100,000 for the planning, how that going to affect? Thank you.
The CEO.
Well, it'll refine our scope of works. I mean, you will recall perhaps the discussion where we're not going 200. We'll spend every last cent. It was intended to be up to. We'll work within what you legally resolve that you allocate. And just to give an example of why it's an investment, we're currently under negotiations for one of our council buildings for potentially an 8-year lease term. And so there is a return. If we can get more efficiency out of this building, get more staff and more capability in here, it allows us to get other income on other buildings as well. So that's that return on investment. You give us that budget, that's fine. That gives us that discipline. If we find that we've hit a certain point and we need to do more, we bring back another decision before council.
Thank you. Further debate? There being none. Councillor Wright, don't want to say anything extra on
No, I don't think so, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, it's up there for electronic voting. I've opened the voting. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. Next up, we have a notice of rescission, CCL 25/273, funding options, Wiradjuri Tourism Centre. Councillor Toynton, would you like to move your motion? Yep. Seconder, Councillor Richardson. Councillor Toynton, would you like to speak to your motion?
Had a detailed meeting with our finances with Director
Jane Bassingthwaite. I'm looking at a couple of options here. I don't think that we can do this with the current resolution of council that was before us. And the other thing that I'm not comfortable with is that we consider the potentially selling off underperforming assets. It wasn't determined what actually was an underperforming asset. Is it something that's making a loss, or is it something that's not making its budget? So if it was making a 20% return, but it had to make 30, that would be underperforming. Parks and gardens would be, again, could be considered underperforming because someone has to go and mow them, yet they don't return any money. So if the rescission motion is successful, I'd like to go back to the drawing board and say, let's use what we have in the bank now towards this project to say, let's fund stage 1 and then source the additional from state or federal governments in the form of grants to deliver the rest. So that way we're not scaling back the size of what's been put forward to us. We still end up getting it full size. We're just being smarter with the way that we get our money around this. Thank you.
Thank you. Further debate. Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll vote against this rescission motion because I think I have a full respect for the councillor bringing this rescission motion, but I think we are jumping the gun a little bit earlier because the previous resolution is not saying we putting that money now. It's going to get a tender and then it's gonna come back again to council. So I think then that time we had to take a decision. And also like a other thing, like the amount we are seeing is not from any like a builder or anyone. It's from the third consultation party. They're giving us the figure. So when we go to the tender, that time we will get the real figure and we can see. So I think this is a little bit misinformation from the community that we're putting that money into now. Actually not. We are checking the price and then we'll take the decision, and then if all councillor thinks now we can't afford, then we'll like revoke this project. Also other thing is like for one project we give up like a river precinct, and I went to the other day a multicultural event and few people asked me where is the update, when are you gonna get that river precinct. So I had to say like we might not get because we're funding for this Wiradjuri Tourism Center, and now we will tell to the community that we cannot like deliver this project, or whenever in future, we don't know in future like how long we're gonna wait, another 5 years and then another $50 million gonna add. So I don't think it's a right decision to vote for this rescission motion. Thank you.
Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I agree with my colleague, Councillor Chowdhury. I will be voting against this. Look, we had a lengthy conversation about this motion at the last meeting, and it went through. And look, there are numerous things that we could say to say why you wouldn't pull it. And the first point I would say is that it's been ongoing for more than 5 years. The discussions, the development, the architecture, the design, and most importantly, the Aboriginal community have been at those meetings discussing why it's important to do certain design, certain way. If we vote for this rescission motion, you would potentially face a huge uproar within your Aboriginal community. And there already is a little bit of angst out there in the community and some social media platforms that, I don't necessarily agree with, around inappropriate comments about, well, who's going to run it? And, so I just think that let's just push ahead. Let's do what we said that we were going to do. There'll always be those opportunities to explore other potential funding in the future. Once we get the Wiradjuri Tourism Centre in Dubbo, this is going to put us on the map. We are going to be a huge draw card for the centre of New South Wales. And if we delay it now, it's just going to continue to delay. So, sorry, I can't support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ryan.
Yeah, look, I just want to express a little bit of disappointment in this rescission motion. We did debate this at a length last time and it was passed, so I don't understand what the reason for the rescission is. And also, with this process, I know that a lot of other councillors were contacted to explain why this rescission motion was given. I don't think I'm an unreasonable bloke. I didn't get a phone call, and I'm just a little bit disappointed in that. I thought we could all be reasonable, and if someone wants to put a motion up, they could explain it to me and tell me why. But yeah, look, again, I won't be supporting this. If we don't do it now, it's not going to happen ever. And if it does happen ever, it's going to cost us millions and millions more.
Councillor Richardson.
Probably a little bit more information if I can. If we went ahead and used the $16 million that we already have to start the project, can we start that like now? It's been going for years, this Wiradjuri Centre, and we have to have it, but just the cost just seems to grow every week, and the longer we leave it. So can we use the money that we've already got to start it without sending it out to tender? Or, sorry, I'm a bit thick with buildings.
The CEO.
So no, we need to go to tender. $16 million. Well, we need to do that. There was a discussion at the options in front of councils at the last council meeting had, whether you call it a stage one or not, but you may recall, and I'll throw to Mr. Arms just to confirm if I've got this recollection correct, that we start undermining the premise of the facility if we don't have as much. So we're spending a lot of money without getting I guess the true value out of it, and then we start undermining the reasons for the grant. So there's some risks there, but I'll throw to Mr. Arms if his recollection's any different or confirmed what I've just said.
Thank you, through you, Mr. CEO. And Mayor, yes, the CEO's recollection is basically accurate. So currently, as from the previous meeting, we're working towards going to tender with a quality building, which it isn't especially compromised from the original. If we start going deeper into that, then yes, we start changing the nature of the building and the nature of the future operating forecast and the presence of the grant obligations as well. So that's pretty much where we're at. We're on a very tight timeline in terms of grant deadlines. So where our timeline at the moment meets that, but any delays in that timeline puts us into a hard spot when it comes to grant deadlines, certainly.
Thank you. Councillor Richardson.
So how long has it taken to get from the beginning to now?
CEO.
And then another question, would be why?
CEO.
It was a grant after in 2018 or 2019, originally a destination Dubbo, and it was largely on concept. So it's taken a lot of work, unlike, say, some of the other recent grants that you may have seen in your term that we've talked about. There's been a lot more, I guess, due diligence on a project or a bit more investigation. So there's been getting the money, then having to do a lot of that due diligence you otherwise might have done up front. And that's certainly given all three projects, the Heritage Plaza, the shovel ready, but the stage on the theatre for a similar reason, and then the Wiradjuri Tourism Centre. There's been lots of complexity. The Wiradjuri Tourism Centre, quite rightly, has had a lot of engagement at the community's pace, and there's been some key procurements where communities been engaged for their views and working on the design. So it has been necessarily a slower pace per se. So I think why it will have taken longer now than, I'll just put that in context of the Heritage Plaza that had some other difficulties where the heritage under the ground was unknown. So that's taken, so it's on a similar timeline pathway because of some other things that needed lots of due consideration. So that's largely where it's at. The last term and this term of council, I guess we've been more conscious of getting through the gates. If you're going to go, we're going to this next gate. And I guess there's been more momentum on the projects as we've got more certainty around design, more certainty around the design constraints. At the moment, for example, we're still enacting the legal resolution of council that's on the books to proceed with this to go to tender. We've engaged via the architects to do more detailed design with community on the interpretation within the building. So it is to get a quality outcome of a genuine cultural centre. It takes a lot of time with community. It's not council imposing a community centre on community as well. They're probably the main reasons, but don't. I would suggest a lot of it goes back to a very conceptual thought when the grant was first got. So it's taken a lot of time to get to, I guess, a point of a more detailed concept building than you might otherwise experience in your term of council. I'll just throw to Mr. Arms. Yep, it's okay. Ms. Bathingthwaite was involved in finances. You're comfortable with that descriptions? Yep. So some of that's to the best of my recollection because I wasn't here.
Further councillors? Hang on, Councillor Butler.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, I guess I'd like to say I'm not against the whole Reggie Centre. I think it's a great idea. I think my main concern is to do with the financial responsibility of making the decision that we are. I had a wonderful discussion with Director Ms. Jane Bathingthwaite about it, and just looking at the current accounts. So I just wanted to put a bit of detail out there. Our asset renewal account, which is the bucket that this comes out of, is currently at 47. We have commitments to 33 million. So that's already spoken for. So our bucket is now 33 million. When you and again, if Ms. Bathingthwaite needs to correct me, then please do. But with our chat, currently our liabilities are 36 million. So that means we're currently 3 million under the. So we have 33 million in the bucket to spend, and we currently owe 36 on other liabilities. So we're currently 3 million in the hole. Then if we put roughly 10 million in, now we're 23 down. And then we are currently in an inflationary environment. So there's no doubt about that. I think people have noticed, even if you go to the store, groceries are twice what they used to be, etc. When the bridge was done, I think it went 40% over. So by the time we turn sod in 12 months' time, I'm pretty confident we'll be roughly running out to almost 30 million. So then that brings our exposure now from 10% to 70% on the debt. So I'm just really quite concerned where this could head. To Councillor Chowdhury's point, if we do go to tender, it is with the intent to build. You can't just put a tender out and then just hope that people give prices and then say, oh, by the way, we're not happy with that price, so we're going to pull out. So I take your point, but I think it's not a valid one. That would mean looking forward in time, we're going to have to cut services. We're going to have to sell assets. We're going to have to put in a special rate variation in order to pay for these things, because we're going to get to a point where our bucket, the asset renewal bucket, has pretty much come to zero. So we were down to 23 with our current thing. Then in 12 months' time, it'll be down to, to what are we saying, 13 even. We essentially will have no fat on the meat to play with. If life happens and something goes wrong, and like a road needs something or some other service is required, then we will have no ability to do that. And then, of course, ongoing, the centre is known to be a $324,000 loss per year. That's on a reasonable estimation, not what I meant when I mean by reasonable. I mean that's a positive looking at it. It could go worse, and the Alarcon report did say that it could go down. I think it was forgive me if I'm wrong, it was something like 700 in worst case scenario. So what this means is we basically. Well, my appetite for getting this far in the hole is my concern. That's where I'm coming from. It's not being against any centres or cultural centres or anything in that nature. It's my appetite for the risk and the loss of money and the loss of service that could potentially come from this is where I'm coming from. So I hope people understand that. I also have some other questions. Is there any possibility that some specifications could bring it down in the price? So instead of, say, spotted gum wood or something, we could do gyprock, or that would have to be a question for the architects, I guess. And the other thing is there other options? Like Is the Western Plains Cultural Centre available, or is there ability to extend it or something so that we have a cultural centre, perhaps keep to our $16 million budget, which we do have, and use that 16 million to build in a more creative way, perhaps, than to have perhaps a dedicated building. I'm concerned that we're living a champagne life on a beer wallet, and I'm concerned that the financial opportunity cost as well. For instance, Talbotgrass Street wouldn't be able to be done. We couldn't even earlier about running events because we didn't have money for it. And I think for the next few years, we'd be struggling to provide services and things for our general population. So I'll finish it there, but thank you for your time.
Further councillors, Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. Look, I'm going to vote against this one as well, and I just want to make a couple of points here. I know Councillor Toynton made reference to the fact that may have to sell off some assets, and I use parks as an example because they don't make us money. But I think this particular wording that I believe it was Councillor Dickerson put in his particular motion was regarding underperforming assets, and we're just talking purely about assets that just don't perform to the level that we wanted to perform, or assets that don't perform to the type of or give us a type of return that we would expect from that sort of asset. I guess a park is a good example. We don't expect it to make money for us, so it's probably performing the way we'd expect it to. But some other things I just wanted to note that I know Councillor Butler just made the comment there about rejecting tenders. We can reject tenders. We did it in January actually, just for we rejected all tenders for the advanced wastewater treatment plant due to budgetary constraints. So yeah, that could occur. So if we do go to tender and the price does come in above what we have a budget for, then certainly we can reject all tenders and look at alternatives. But one comment I wanted to make just finally was that I just want to say time is an expense. And from the outside in, it could be viewed that not enough respect has been given to both time and subsequently the cost of this when it comes to this particular project. And I can understand the frustration with community when it comes to both time and money. And I think all the councillors here are aware of it. And certainly to Councillor Butler's point that none of the councillors or any of the staff in the room who are associated with the project really have any idea what this is going to cost. So, which makes me nervous. So we've got another stop-go point, as Councillor Chowdhury indicated, that's coming up when we do go to tender with this to get a fair idea, and hopefully staff also coming to council with a list of those particular underperforming assets that could be realised in the event of council needing to raise some needed funds for this project.
Thank you. Further councillors, Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just through you, Mr. Mayor, if we go ahead with this project and if tender, once the tender comes to us and we go ahead, can we still actively looking for a government grant for additional fund? Thank you.
CEO.
You would look for partial grants. Typically, you can't. So you'd have to you'd be structuring your project the right way so you could still achieve money. We're not just looking at grants. Certainly, we've already. So we're already looking at funding strategies, not just about underperforming assets. So one of those is going to not-for-profit or private sector investment as well. There is an appetite for quality First Nations tourism and social outcomes. So I know the staff, led by Ms Brown, already having some of those conversations with some powerful players with arguably an international reach. So we're actively looking for that already as well. So we're not waiting to go to tender, then we go, oh gosh, we've got to find some more money to invest in the project because we've got a legal resolution on the books. We're working on in parallel whilst the team who are responsible for going to tender and managing the project are still pushing ahead with the building. So we're doing that at the same time. So not just grants, private sector, not-for-profits and other options as well.
Councillor Dickerson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think there's lots of interesting points around the tourism centre, the Redbury Cultural Tourism Centre, and about the merits of it. But I think the main point here is that this rescission motion is jumping the gun. We debated it last month at length and came up with the idea that if we say, yes, we can go ahead and we go to tender, we've still got to stop-go when we come to tender. Now is not the stop-go time. When we come back, councillors who voted to go down this path last month may well vote the other way when the tender comes back at $55 million. So the stop-go to me is when we get prices back for tender. If the tenders come in at $10 million, I'm pretty confident councillors around the table go, well, that's fantastic because we got $7.1 million from the federal government in May last year. So, gee, $10 million, that's fantastic. We won't know the definite outcome of that until we get those tenders back. And so that to me is the logical next step that we say, let's stop or let's go, because then we'll know the definite price and then we'll know the information. As Councillor Wright said, what I was talking about was financially underperforming assets. And again, that's our decision as councillors when that comes back. If some report comes back from staff and said, let's sell all the green space because that costs us money, then again, I'm pretty confident councillors sitting around the table will go, well, no, that's part of the amenity of living in Dubbo. So that's up to us ultimately to decide that with the information that comes back. So I think we've got to reject this rescission motion. We've got to go ahead as our plan was last month, get the tenders back in, look at the funding strategies that our staff are already putting together. I did actually even question whether this was a legal motion because so much work has already been done, but I accept the fact that it could be stopped now, even though work has been put towards tender documents, looking at funding strategies, etc. But it seems logical to me. Let that play out. Let our staff do the job that they're employed to do and let all that go through and play out. And when we get to the end of that, we can still say no. There is not a problem with us saying no if it comes into the point where we can't fund it, the strategy's not right, the tenders come back too expensive. But for the moment, let's keep going and find out those answers so we can have a definite answer going forward.
Councillor Ryan with a question. Did you have a question? Thought you moved before. Thought you had your finger up, waving.
Oh, not a question, mate. Can I make a comment or?
Oh, you've already made one.
done
You
that?
could,
No.
if you put it as a question.
No dramas.
Councillor Wells, question.
Yes, my question is, are we also pursuing philanthropic peoples for funds?
To the CEO.
Yes.
Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So when are you expecting we are going for tender?
CEO.
Thank you.
Yeah, if we had asked the question in the briefing that you wanted to know that, I would have had the person in the room that could have given me that off the cuff. What we'll do, councillors, it is we're working on the tender docs now, so we're keen to get to market as soon as possible. Now, what that means in timelines, I will take that on notice, and I'll divvy that out to councillors out of session. If I can find it out in this whilst we're at this meeting, I'll see if I can do that as well.
Councillor Richardson.
Sorry, yeah, not much to do with building. So once the tender goes out, how long does it take to come back?
CEO.
It's a complicated project. It might take, you might have it out for 28 days. We've had, it might go for 28 days, might be slightly longer around the 40 given the complexity. So we'll have compulsory site meetings to go through that with tenderers. So we're likely, sorry, Ms. Bappingthwaighte, you were suggesting come back to council by Feb? All right, so tenders will go out in Feb. It's likely to be a month in terms of getting people to come back with their pricing. What happens if you shorten that too much? They will price in the risk of misquoting, so you'll end up with higher prices. So you need to give them an appropriate amount of time to drop in a detail. Often what that does in tendering, that's our experience, my experience certainly in some major sort of recreational projects, is that clever builders can actually come up with different solutions. So they'll have to put in a conforming tender, but they might put in, here's how I can add value to your project by some different methodologies as well. And certainly had some great success in the past with that approach. So if go out to, you're probably talking April to, a meeting for council indicatively, by which you say yay or nay to some of the council's points about a stop go. We'll have the definitive prices from businesses by them. I'll just check with Mr. Arms. Comfortable with that description in terms of timelines? So why we say that, we're working on the specifications, for example, the design of the interpretation of the stuff that's more than bricks and mortar. That's an important part of the project. So we're doing that detailed design it's more detailed. It's almost a fit out design, if you will. So we're in that space right now.
Councillor Richardson.
So from the time the tender comes back and it comes before council and it's awarded to the company, how long generally before, like a sod turn, before they actually commence? Or is that
CEO.
Well, we can always do a sod turn as soon as you award it, just as a ceremonial gold shovel event rather than digging it with an excavator. Look, that'd be part of their tender. So part of your assessment of typically what you ask them in a construction tender is their timelines, because that could be a factor for us to weigh up. And so that'll be all part of the package of information we give you as part of a stop-go. Given I haven't seen the final designs and the likelihood, again, I'll take that on notice and through... Yeah, throw Mr. Arms, I'll throw to you.
Thank you, Mr. CEO, and through you, Mr. Mayor. What the CEO was saying is right, but March is the planned sod turn. So like we said before, we've mapped out our timeline through to meeting the grant deadlines. Everything needs to flow very nicely, and so our plan is for a March start.
Cool.
Councillor Wells and Councillor Chowdhury.
Oh, just one more question. I'm just a bit confused about the date you said the tender's going to go out. So when is that?
CEO.
So I'll take that on notice. My recollection is early Feb. So you don't go out in January. There's no point. So that's why we're diving into detail right now. Mr. Arms, do you have any further insights on beyond that?
Through Mr. CEO. So yeah, it is a February planning for tender. As the CEO said, January is not generally the time. It's the dark time in terms of these types of things as people have their Christmas breaks. Our plan is for tender. We try and keep it out for as long as we can, but given our tight time frame, the longer a tender is out, the more opportunity you give for better feedback and more competitiveness. It really depends, but we're looking at late January, February through to an end of March, maybe early April start to the project. That's the time frame that we're on.
Councillor Chowdhury.
Thank you. Sorry for another question. So if we go, why I have two questions. So why cannot go earlier, like around mid-November or December? One thing, and second one is if we go around April, how tight would be? Because as you said, like funding has a real tight timeline. So how far we are from that timeline? Thank you.
CEO.
So you wouldn't go if you go out to market. People price uncertainty in a construction. So if you go out with not very detailed design, people will price that lack of certainty. And also what you'll get is you'll get hit with any number of variations to the tender because you haven't got that detail in your documentation. So it's very important you get it really tight in terms of your design and what they have to deliver. So there's clarity for them. That means they don't have to price and risk. And that means they're not going to lowball knowing that I can see gaps all through this. I'm going to make money off this council through variations. Quite rightly, they're there to make money. That's the risk you'll manage by taking time to get that detailed design right so they can get better accurate pricing. In terms of, I think Mr. Arms said before, the timeline that the team's mapped out is tight, but it fits the grant program. So I'll just reconfirm that with Mr. Arms as he said that before. So all things going well as we currently are, it fits, albeit tightly, into our grant timelines.
Further councillors? Councillor Butler.
Yeah, just a question. Yeah. A question to Director Jane Basingthwaite. I'd just like to get an idea. If we get our asset renewal bucket and it goes down to like $10 million or something like that, which is likely, what are the risks to our financial health? Is that a good way of putting it? Should we push so far into that sort of debt exposure type unknown territory, perhaps you'd call it, maybe I'm putting it badly, but I hope you understand what I'm trying to get at. Yeah.
CEO.
Yeah, so what you're asking is about a worst case scenario in terms of lack of funding, and also, but I might also get Ms. Bathingthwaite to talk about some early thoughts on some funding models using council resources as well.
Yeah, so as Councillor Butler did describe, I'm focused on asset renewals and I do watch the asset renewal bucket quite closely. So as this is an active process project on the books, we are looking at alternate funding sources, discussing and looking at ways with water sewer funds being high in their reserves, what approvals we need to get from the Minister to potentially borrow off them. There is a couple of major projects on the accounts at the moment. So there are alternate ways that we will continue to investigate because, as Councillor Butler said, we do watch the asset renewal funds in the general fund very closely to make sure that they are efficient for a significant amount of work that we are aware of that is needing renewal in our community. But for the major projects, there is possibilities that we can get alternate funding sources.
Further, councillor? Does that answer the question?
I'm just wondering, the question I had was more to do with risk than alternative funding. Does that make sense?
Yep. CEO.
Yeah.
Yep. So should you have carte blanche more broadly and tapping into your asset renewal reserve? No, because that is a slippery slope for councils. So that's that headline. But what Ms. Bathingthwaite's pointing out is that's not your only option. We do have, irrespective of the unknown, ignoring the unknown of getting further external funding, we do have options. Say, for example, the sewer fund, it's got healthy reserves, it's got a longer time frame in terms of needing to draw on that for capital works. There could be an internal borrowing against that sewer fund with the Minister's permission, I hasten to add. So that's what we're working on that way.
Anything further, councillors? I'll just make a quick comment. Look, a month ago, I voted against the motion because I wasn't in favour of the potential asset sales, and I favoured another option. And look, given the amount of money that the Wiradjuri Tourism Centre is likely going to cost, it's probably a good thing that we didn't go ahead with that stage down on Ollie Robbins Oval and that we moved some of that money back up to the Heritage Plaza, and it was a many millions of dollars better position for council budget overall, and given the increases in cost here. But look, 7 years, a project that started at 3.3 million is just ridiculous. There's probably a lot of reasons why, but I won't support the rescission motion because, like last month, there was no councillors who were away. Everyone was here. There's been not a great deal of more info come to light, and there's no councillor that, because of that info, has genuinely changed their mind, I don't feel. So it's not that I don't necessarily agree with it. I've got grave concerns over the cost to the budget going forward through the whole LGA, unless we can source funds from either to put some of the VPA money in or get some philanthropic funds. But it's basically just that I don't feel we can be moving a rescission motion every time we lose a vote each month. So that's why I will vote against it. Anything further, councillors? No. We'll go back to the mover, Councillor Toynton, for a right of reply to anything there.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So I'll just go a couple of things. I've been taking some notes here. So to Councillor Wells' comments to say this has caused some angst among the community. Now, this was certainly not the intention around this rescission. The intention was that I was uncomfortable with the funding source of this. As Councillor Wright pointed out, the assets. Now, Councillor Dickerson's amended version to last month's thing, it did not specify what asset. It just said the words assets. So I could take that as anything and everything that council owns could be the subject to a fire sale. So that was where I had those concerns. Now, I would be happy any way in the world that we could fund this because it is long overdue. It is needed for the community. It would be great for Dubbo, like right smack bang in the middle of Wiradjuri country. This would be an absolute asset. And as I say, if we had the money there to do this without the potential fire sale of assets, I'd say get it done right now. That is the only reason why I've put forward the rescission motion, is because I'm just not comfortable with the funding source.
Thank you. Councillors, I will open the voting on Councillor Toynton's rescission motion. Please cast your votes.
You can change it. You can change it.
I haven't closed it yet. $10 penalty there. Councillors, I'll now close off the voting. That was lost 3 votes to 8. Next motion is CCL 25/274, proposed school crossing upgrade Oak Street, Dubbo. Do I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Wells, and seconded by Councillor Cowley. Councillor Wells, would you like to speak to that at all?
Oh, just briefly, Mr. Mayor, thank you. I absolutely support that we do this when there's children's lives at risk, and we need to ensure that pedestrians are upgraded to ensure that they get across those crossings. It's a no-brainer. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, Councillor Cowley, sorry, I forgot this was your committee. Apologies. Would you like to speak to it? Make a comment?
No, look, only to thank Councillor Toynton for holding the reins in my absence, and I concur with Councillor Wells.
Thank you. Anything further, councillors? Councillor Toynton?
It was an honour to chair that for you, Councillor Cowley, but we still haven't beat our record of the 7 minutes. That was, I think we had nearly an hour at that one, so yeah, it was a long one. I made the most of my time at the helm.
Thank you. Councillors, I will open the voting on that. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. CCL 25/275, 2026 New South Wales Touch Football Junior State Cup Dubbo. Councillor Cowley moved and Councillor Wells seconded. Councillor Cowley, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to thank Councillor Toynton again for stepping up. And I will attempt at the very next meeting to beat your record. Quick game's a good game.
Thank you. Anything further, councillors? Councillor Wells?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think I'm speaking too much tonight, but anyway, everyone knows I love touch footy, and that this particular event here in Dubbo brings so much to the community. I think it was something around $8 million or more last year, and our input in kind is, well, minimal, I think. So I look forward to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, councillors? There being nothing, I will open the voting. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. CCL 25/276, adoption of water supply services policy, sewerage services policy, and liquid trade waste policy. Do I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Chowdhury, and seconded by Councillor Cowley. Councillor Chowdhury, would you like to speak to that?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any debate, councillors? There being none, I'll put that. I've now opened the voting. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. CCL 25/277, pest bird species, results of survey and future direction. Do I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Wright, seconded by Councillor Toynton. Councillor Wright, would you like to speak to that?
No, I don't think so, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Toynton, would you like to... Where you go?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. But just looking at some of these tables on the surveys that were done, I'd say it's a combination of a bit disappointing, really, that some of the answers are: do you have a pest bird problem? Then they say yes. Do you have any systems in place? No. And then the final question there was, would your business be willing to contribute to it? And the answer is overall no. It's like, well, if it's a problem, we expect everyone to sort of try and at least work on it, rather than saying, I've got a problem and I'm doing nothing to address it, please help me. And it's like, well, we are we are certainly trying as a council to deal with this pest problem, but we do need support from people. It's like we cannot sit there and be the pest management guys for everyone. Like I can't say, oh, your house has got termites, no worries, council will go and pay to fix that, or oh, your house is a pigsty, but we'll go and deal with the cockroaches or the mice. We are not pest controllers. We are there to do our very best that we can, but we need support from the community as well as what limited resources that we have. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cowley.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Look, I take Councillor Taunton's point, and it may seem a little bit disappointing, but at a time when we are wanting our CBD to look and perform its very best, there are lots and lots of places in the CBD that are affected by birds, and not all of them are private businesses. And at a time when businesses are doing it tough, the cost of living crisis, and I just think it's a little bit unfair to judge just based on some simple figures there, and to impose to further impose an impost on businesses, I think is a little bit unfair. So maybe come up with another model that shares the burden equally, and it is a council problem. So I think unfairly targeting businesses who for the bad behaviour of birds is unfair.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? There being none, back to the mover, Councillor Wright.
No, thanks, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Councillors, I'll now put that motion. I've opened the voting. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. CCL 25/278, modification of Blue Ridge Precinct Development Control Plan, moved by Councillor Chowdhury, seconded by Councillor Wright. Thank you. Councillor Chowdhury, would you like to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a couple of questions through you. So, for the community, what is that modification we trying to do now for the Blue Ridge Precinct, so community can understand that? One, question one. And question two, I remember there was a Facebook campaigning, there will be a community hub or something. Is there any update on that? Thank you.
CEO.
Mr. Jennings.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for the question, Councillor Chowdhury. This modified development control plan, what this is about, a couple of months back, Council adopted an overall Blue Ridge development control plan, but in that process there was one site where the landowner at the time wasn't keen to be a part of that development control plan process. Now that landowner is obviously keen to be a part of a process, and this is the subject of the modified development control plan, which is here in front of you tonight. So if council adopts the recommendation, it'll go out on public display and then come back with the results of public exhibition for your consideration. In respect of the second question there from Councillor Chowdhury, I'm not aware of any update around that project. Yeah.
Thank you. Anything further? Further debate, councillors? There being none, I'll put that motion. I've opened the voting. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. CCL 25/279, update on the North Yeovil Boundary Adjustment Project. Do I have a mover for that, please? Councillor Butler, seconded by Councillor Taunton. Councillor Butler, would you like to speak to that at all?
Right, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I think it's just a good thing to do. I think it's been in the years of doing it, been a while in the pipeline, and it's a good tidy up and ministerially. I think it'll benefit both Cabine and ourselves. So more than happy to vote for this one. Thank you.
Thank you. Anything further, councillors? Councillor Richardson.
Just actually a question, just another one. if the residents of North Yeovil and South Yeovil are happy with the consolidation.
Yeovil proper and North
You
Yeovil.
know, Yeovil Heights.
CEO.
Yep.
The Yeovil Heights residents, Ms Brown?
Thank you for the question, and through you, Mr Mayor. We have done some significant stakeholder consultation. There are 42 rateable properties in North Yeovil that we plan to transfer over to the care and care of Cabonne Shire Council following this. We established, so we've been out to the Yeovil Show and we had 25 conversations with people, and that was last year at the Yeovil Show. We did a letterbox drop to all of the directly hand delivered and talking to people, to all the impacted residents. We had a Your Say project page established, which is still available, which has had 352 visits. The kinds of comments that we're getting from people in the area, it will reduce confusion, good for the community, makes more sense. This one was interesting, will help grant applications for town planning and community-based programs to be able to be all in one area. I want to see it happen. May cost more money, and I would like to know what it costs, which is actually the work that we're currently doing. Need a footpath and would support it even if it cost a little more. So those are some of the verbatim comments from the community. We are working hand in glove with Cabonne Council on this issue. They are taking the lead as they are the receiving council, and the information or the wording there has been provided to us by the Office of Local Government as the correct wording that needs to go to support the joint application. Thank you.
Councillor Ivey online, it looks like.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. A question, really. This has been discussed and been mooted for some considerable time now. I'd hope that perhaps it might have been a little bit further advanced than is perhaps indicated in this resolution, in particular 3B, where it says the General Manager of Dubbo and Cabonne are to reach a negotiated agreement on the nature of the arrangements concerning cost sharing. I thought that might have happened already. Are we now about to sit down and maybe reach 3C where we haven't got an agreement at all?
CEO.
No, rest assured, those conversations have been had at detail, and we've come to, I guess, an informal agreement. And I guess what that's calling out, we need to actually formalise that. That's what the Office of Local Government requires us to say. We're there very closely. And Ms Brown, I think the timeline you have for completing the boundary adjustment, you may advise councillors, please.
Thank you, and through you, we're aiming to have this, and it will be subject obviously to the Minister and the process going through the Office of Local Government through a joint submission process, which we're quite clear on and have good examples of recent similar size in other locations in New South Wales that we can follow the bouncing ball. But we're planning to have this in for 1 July so that it's an easy transfer. And just to underscore the CEO's point about the fact that we've been in detailed negotiations with the executive staff all the way along, and in our last meeting where we spoke to both the executive team and then also to council, a lot of those final questions were answered.
Further, Councillor Ivey.
Look, thank you for that. Yeah, they are very encouraging comments. Thanks.
Thank you. Further, councillors. There being nothing, back to the mover for a right of reply to anything there.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, I've opened the voting. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. CCL 25/280, Council's role in the support of grants for community and council. Someone to move that, please. Councillor Richardson, seconded by Councillor Cowley. Councillor Richardson, would you like to speak to that at all?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd actually like to thank Ms Brown and her team for compiling the report. It's makes for very interesting reading, and I think it just shows the LGA as well, the people that reside in the LGA, that council are working very hard to get as many government grants as we can, especially like your team. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Cowley.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and thank you also to Councillor Richardson for her thanks for the team, which I support as well. Could somebody just explain to me, through you, Mr. Mayor, back in the day we used to have a grants officer, and a lot of councils did. Can you explain, could somebody explain how that model has shifted and why we no longer have that role specifically? Would there ever be a time where we would reinstate such a role? And also, the money spent on consultancies for external grant writers and external grant sourcing, how does that stack up with what we would pay a grants officer?
The CEO.
Ms. Brown.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. Just first of all, a small correction to the paper on page 429 of your papers. There is a table that talks about successful, unsuccessful and pending outcomes over the past 3 financial years, including current. We've just got the unsuccessful and pending around the wrong way in the current year. So it should read 2 unsuccessful grants at $4,900 and 3 pending at $5,367,476. So fingers crossed for those. But to your question, Councillor Cowley, I think, yes, in the past, councils did have grants officers, and the work of those grants officers fell largely into 4 categories. One was around making both council internally, but also community aware of grant opportunities and distributing that information. There was a lot of support for community, and they did a lot of the internal grant writing, the development of the information and the evidence to support grant applications. Light business case development, I would probably say, having seen the progression of grant application requirements over the course of my career. And then also, finally, the important job of making sure that if we receive grants for council, that we're meeting our milestones, as we've discussed tonight, and also acquitting the expenditure to make sure that our reputation is maintained as a quality recipient and spender of grant for community benefit. I think those functions are now quite highly skilled in their own regard, and going to my point about the fact that the bar for the demonstration of return on investment from both the Australian government, the New South Wales government, but actually even more strongly from the philanthropic sector, that you're able to demonstrate that every dollar is having a significant return on investment, and also the demonstration of the need for the project from a technical perspective, but also the community support for the program. That bar is much higher. The acquittals is obviously getting much more detailed as well. So the role is has increased in terms of technicality and that, so we have chosen at council currently to complete all of those functions using a mix of different kind of resourcing types. So we have a part resource which is responsible for looking at grant opportunities and making sure that they are distributed, and we have a range of ways we distribute it both internally and externally. In terms of our staff within the community having those really good quality relationships with different community groups across the organisation, whether they be sporting, whether they be arts, and having those conversations about what we're seeing that they could be eligible for. And then developing applications to support our major project ambition here within council on behalf of the community. These big grants are multi-million-dollar grants that require quite detailed specialist business case development. So, for example, the airport runway strengthening project recently, a $15 million investment, we had a specialist develop that for us, which was a good value for us based on the decision of the manager at the time at about $9,000 we spent on that. It would be hard to resource one role at the level to do both the high level business case development, but also some of the distribution and email work, which is why we've chosen at this point to have horses for courses across those functions. But it's something that we could revisit if council are not seeing the performance they would like to see around our grant attraction.
Thank you. Further? Any other debate? There being none, back to Councillor Richardson, right of reply to anything there?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, I've opened the voting. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. Next item is CCL 25/281. DRLM Advisory Committee, moved by Councillor Toynton, seconded by Councillor Richardson. Thank you. Councillor Toynton, would you like to speak to your motion?
I'd like to move an alternative motion, Mr Mayor.
Yep.
The alternative is that the structure and draft terms of reference for the Dubbo Regional Livestock Markets Advisory Group be placed on public exhibition for 28 days for the purpose of public submissions with a further report to Council.
Thank you. Councillor Richardson, you happy with that?
Yes, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Righto, thank you. Councillor Toynton.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just going over the business paper as it stood. This seems to adopt a model that was based on feedback from 2024, which is not consistent with what is required today. So I think the best thing to do would be to put this out to public exhibition and receive feedback from people that are directly involved with the sale yards, and to actually have that greater input rather than relying on older information. We did have a committee with the sale yards before, and it was an abysmal failure, is the feedback that I've heard, and the people that were on it were happy to see it gone. This advisory committee cannot be like the last one, because it'll just be a failure. So I'd rather see that it's put out to public exhibition and we can receive that feedback from stakeholders in the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Further debate, councillors? There being none, I will open the voting on that and put Councillor Toynton's motion. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. The next meeting is CCL 25/282, request for November council meeting to be held in the Dubbo Chambers. Moved by Councillor Chowdhury, seconded by Councillor Wells. Councillor Chowdhury, would you like to speak to that at all?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any further debate, councillors? Councillor Richardson.
More of a question, actually, Mr Mayor, just as to why this has been put forward, please.
The CEO.
Councillors, you would be well aware, but obviously people live streaming would not be aware that we're moving to a new platform, and it is much more advantageous for councillors in running and smoothness of running a meeting. Like any rollout of tech and software, you need to be ready for worst case scenarios in terms of unforecast challenges. There are more resources and more technology available. Just it's a bigger building and more regularly used. So we need to put that resources in to run our first open meeting. We'll have more staff around to enable the meeting to go smoothly, irrespective of, so that we're managing the risk. That's why it's before you today. We think it is better to manage the risk that as we deploy this software for the first time publicly, we're having training for you guys during the week and staff have been trained. But as we go first live, we don't want to have a situation where our live streaming platform falls over and the community doesn't have access to our meeting via that platform. So this is just for this meeting. Council in the new year can determine to another date, one of the other dates for Wellington, should you so choose. So that is well within. We've sort of got a map out of when those dates. This is just about the technology and why we need to be in Wellington for that case in November. But certainly a councillor may decide whether it's December or early in the new year to ask for a report about when can we have a replacement date for Wellington. That's certainly a decision council can make. So it is just about managing the risk of a new technology rollout. I'm sure most people have experienced some that have gone well, and most have experienced something that have been problematic, and we want to avoid that as far as possible.
Councillor Ivey online, it looks like.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just really a follow-up question to Councillor Richardson. In the business papers, it says that we're moving to an updating business paper management system to a centralised meeting management system. But I presume then the next sentence says which includes meeting streaming, but I don't fully understand. So what, we are changing the whole meeting streaming platform? So that's a fairly major move, is it? And what are the advantages? If that's the case, what are the perceived advantages?
CEO.
More than perceived, the governance team are quivering with anticipation of the new system. It is fully integrated. Instead of having parallel systems, one for the business papers, one for the live stream, etc., it's all integrated. And we've done a trial for our executive leadership team. It is easier to navigate for you when you're in the meetings. You can actually, for example, there's functionality about putting notes alongside the actual business paper. So instead of either having two different screens and things, you can do it when you're reading it on a weekend and it still remains there. So there's a lot more productive functionality, a more modern system, I would argue, certainly from our experience. And it's integrated with the live streaming as well. So I might just throw to Ms. Rouse for any further updates on the quality of what's going to be before you shortly.
Yeah, thank you. Through Mr. Chair, there are a lot of efficiencies in the back end. A lot of resources and staff time go into creating the business papers and publishing those. This new system gives us huge time savings and more reliability with our product. The test environment for the new platform has been the Dubbo Chamber. We've got a lot more IT staff and governance staff on site here. So it's just to reduce the variables with our go live period.
Further, Councillor Ivey.
Okay, no, look, that's fine, thanks. And again, we're in the hands of staff here that says yes, it's needed, and I'm sure it is. And so yes, I'll vote in favour of it. But with the having made the comment, I would really like to see that meeting caught up, if you like, in Wellington later on. I think it's very important that the meetings do occur in Wellington at the frequency we've had. So no, happy to support this motion with that proviso that yes, please, will council consider later plugging in another meeting in Wellington. Thank you.
Swapping a meeting. Further debate, councillors. Councillor Toynton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just a question, because we had a previous resolution of council to have 4 meetings there at Wellington, would this require that to be rescinded, or would this just be a carryover thing? And the next part would be, I guess, we've got councillors here that do reside in the Wellington area, and we've got councillors that do reside in the Dubbo area. So is this something, I guess, that everyone's still comfortable with moving up to Dubbo for that meeting while we get the technology rolled out at the Wellington Chambers? Thank you.
Thank you, the CEO.
No, so the reason this is coming to you for a resolution, it overwrites the previous one. It's longer than 3 months. If it's within 3 months, that's why you have a rescission motion process. So this just overrides that. And again, should you choose, whether it's at a future meeting or what have you, to then say we will move this meeting to Wellington, again, it's beyond the 3 months of the original decision, so it just overwrites it in the future. So relatively simple. Yet we acknowledge that some staff drive a long way, whichever way the meetings are, and Wellington typically have to drive more if you're based in Wellington because there's a higher ratio of Dubbo meetings. So that's certainly acknowledged. It's up to you guys where you choose and how you choose to set those meetings, except for this one where we're asking you to back us with the technology change.
Further debate, councillors. There being none, Councillor Chowdhury, right to reply to anything there?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Councillors, I've opened the voting. Please cast your votes. I'll now close the voting. Carried unanimously. CCL 25/283, Disability Inclusion and Access. Do I have someone to move that, please? Councillor Toynton. Oh, hang on. Question on notice. We now have before us a question on notice from Councillor Toynton with a written response provided. Are there any questions from councillors for the purpose of clarification? No. Next one, CCL 25/284, Community Safety and Crime Prevention Initiatives. We now have before us a question on notice from Councillor Chowdhury with a written response provided. Are there any questions from councillors for the purpose of clarification? No. Next one. CCL 25/285. Channels of communication with Council for Rural Residents. We now have a question before us on notice from Councillor Toynton with a written response provided. Are there any questions from councillors for the purpose of clarification? The next one is CCL 25/286. Nanama Village Road. We now have a question on notice before us from Councillor Toynton with the response provided verbally through the CEO.
To Mr. Jennings.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, I can advise in respect of the question on notice of the following. The land at Nanama Village Road, which is owned by the Wellington Local Aboriginal Land Council and the Wellington Town Common, is private land. In respect of the clean-up undertaken of this land, a representative of the Wellington Local Aboriginal Land Council contacted Council on the 24th of September 2025 to advise Council that they had a contractor that had offered to undertake the clean-up work and to seek approval for tipping fees to be waived. The Chief Executive Officer provided this approval and subsequently, get that word out, the clean-up was undertaken on the 25th of September 2025. The clean-up included Council's receival of mixed waste, which was in the order of 5 loads of 3 tonnes, 15 tonnes, 24 tyres and 6 mattresses at the Wellington Waste Transfer Facility. This rubbish would have attracted fees of some $1,708 in accordance with Council's adopted fees and charges for the 2025-2026 financial year. Ordinarily, this volume of waste would not have been received at the Wellington Waste Transfer Station and would have been required to be disposed of at the Wylandra Waste Facility. However, this would have added further transport costs to the Wellington LALC and the contractor who was undertaking the work. Following completion of the clean-up, we now need to identify what measures can be put in place to ensure this doesn't keep happening on the land. Given the large frontage of the land to Nanama Village Road, fencing may not be appropriate. The EPA, Environment Protection Authority, has grants available, which we're currently exploring to understand what assistance may be available for this purpose. In respect of Council's approach to illegal dumping on public lands, the 2025-2026 adopted budget includes a total of $40,000 for illegal dumping activities across our local government area for public lands only. In respect of illegal dumping, Council doesn't currently have a policy setting for the clean-up of private lands. If Council was to clean up illegal dumping on private lands, this would likely present considerable financial costs to ratepayers. Thanks, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Any questions on that, councillors, for clarification? Councillor Toynton.
Just a comment. So to the guys who went and cleaned up that awful mess, I sit there and say, job absolutely well done. But it's absolutely spotless now. That was, I said, 15 tonnes of rubbish to be dumped on the side of the road, regardless of who owns land, is just disgraceful by all those involved who did it. So to those who went and cleaned up, I saw the before and after photos, tyres, mattresses, you named it was there, syringes, stuff that you wouldn't want to deal with. But those guys who did it did an absolutely remarkable job. And I just want to say hats off and congratulations to those guys for the best job that they did with that work cleaning up the Nanama Village Road. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just again, a follow-up question. We haven't raised the possibility before of Council developing a policy for waiving fees for disposal of rubbish, perhaps by volunteer groups on the River Care groups, or in Wellington's case, perhaps in the Mount Arthur Reserve. Have we made any progress on developing that policy yet? And when might we have something before Council?
The CEO.
Mr. Jennings.
Through you, Mr. Mayor, thanks, Councillor Ivey, for the question. So that component there in that policy setting, we do have a report coming up to Council in November around a number of items in respect of Council's waste operations. And from my memory, it will be one of the components that will be looked at in that Council report that will come up to you in November.
Thank you. Any further clarifying questions, councillors? There being none, We'll move on to the next item, which is CCL 25/287, comments and matters of urgency. We'll start with Councillor Butler.
Yes, so just briefly, my wife and I went to Canberra over the weekend and attended the Australians Against Anti-Semitism rally that was held at Parliament House. And it was a rainy, cold Canberra day, so the numbers were down, shall we say. But it was still a good event. Warren Mundine addressed the group, so he's probably fairly well known. And yeah, so I just wanted to encourage people that certainly anti-Semitic events have gone up 200% in the last little while for the people who track these things. So I was just keeping an eye on it. We just like to make people aware of it, that whatever side of the debate you're on, if you hate Israel or whatever, that's not the issue. That the Jewish guy down the store who owns the shop writing graffiti on his front window does not actually address the situation happening in the Middle East, if that makes sense. So I think we just need to be, how would you call it, sensitive to that, and that we try and encourage each other and those around us to behave respectfully and encourage others in all times. So thank you. Yeah.
Councillor Dickerson.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I know councillors will be very happy to see that I'm back from tour to Orrock in one piece, and I am sitting down without wincing now, so it's been a week, so it's been fine. But a big thank you to all the communities around the region. We rode through places like Burke and Cobar and Warren and Walgett, etc., and all of those councils were very accommodating. We're very happy to receive the riders. We haven't got the final sums in yet, but I suggest it'll be near $200,000 we raised out of that week on our bikes around the area, which obviously all goes towards Macquarie Homestay, which is going along very well now. It's even with after the latest expansion, it's still regularly booked out, so it's a great facility for Dubbo, for the region. And certainly the various mayors and councillors were very involved, and the Mayor, Jared Marsden, out at Cobar, has been involved with a couple of Tour Rocks, and I did feel for him a lot this afternoon when I heard the radio and heard about that tragedy in Cobar this morning, where two miners unfortunately died. So my thoughts are certainly with the Cobar community, but also with the Mayor, who had to front radio stations all day today, there for his community. And it's a tough gig when it's not a council-owned facility. It's not anything that councils have anything to do with, but the community still looks to the Mayor as the leader in the community when a tragedy like that happens. So certainly from seeing Jared a couple of weeks ago, when very happy to see us there, I certainly felt for him this afternoon when he was talking about that tragedy in Cobar. So again, thank you to the entire region, the entire community out there who supported Tour fantastically.
Thank you. Councillor Richardson.
Just following on from Councillor Dickerson's comment about the Tour de Rock, sorry if I haven't pronounced it properly. I'm very proud to say that medical imaging at Dubbo Hospital are actually involved in supplying dinner on Thursday night for the residents at Macquarie Homestay. I know Miss Brown's involved in Macquarie Homestay as well. It's a wonderful feeling. It makes you feel good that you're actually giving back to people. And I challenge my fellow councillors and anyone else that's interested to actually go up there. You do it on a Tuesday night, which we can't, or a Thursday night. You supply the food, you serve these people, and you interact with them and you talk to them. And they are so appreciative of having a home-cooked meal, of having people to talk to. Last time we did it, one young couple from Hermidale, she had a high-risk pregnancy. They were there with two little girls, and the little girls had the time of their life because we supplied ice cream and sprinkles for them. So yeah, I challenge you, come and see me or email me and let me know, and we can get in contact with Rod and set up a night to do it. It's a couple of hours out of your life, and it really does make you feel a heap better. Two things, sorry, I won't be long. A couple of weeks ago, I went down to Canberra to Parliament House on a Saturday morning when it was blowing a force 10 gale regarding renewables. It was a rally. I went there as a private citizen, not as a councillor. I'll just reiterate that. It was very enlightening to hear other communities and the problems that they're facing with these projects, with wind turbines. Crookwell is now, they're developing Crookwell 3, So that means they've got 3 wind farms around them, and these new ones will be almost as high as Centrepoint Tower. One particular lady spoke and said that when they first approached her, they said, "We'd like to put a couple of wind turbines at the back of your property," and she said, "Oh, 1 or 2 will be okay." There's now 12. So yes, it was, and it put people in contact with each other, people that are going through the same thing, whether it's solar farms or wind farms. Now these people actually have others that they can contact and get information from. There's one particular council down there, I'll just say quietly, that they are unanimous in their decision not to support net zero or renewables. Even their Greens councillor will not support it, which they were very surprised about. So that's all I've got.
Thank you. Councillor Cowley.
Thank you very much, Mr Mayor. Very quickly, Councillor Dickerson, congratulations on the Tour de Oroc effort. Macquarie Homestay is indeed a very worthy recipient, and I concur also with Councillor Richardson. Our Rotary Club has been doing the meals on Tuesday nights once a month, and it is a wonderful thing to do, and I will take your challenge. Yep. And back you in issuing it to others. I also would like to concur with Councillor Dickerson's heartfelt thoughts to Cobar. We were just this week, we were out there, as fate would have it, with an organisation called NALAG, the National Association for Loss and Grief. And we were talking with lots of different community groups, including council, and in a community such as connected as Cobar is, this strikes at the heart, this tragedy of that community, and they will be doing it very tough as a collective. So I'm sure everybody joins with me and with Councillor Dickerson in sending our thoughts to that community. I was fortunate enough last Friday night to be amongst those celebrating the long awaited and all anticipated retirement of Detective Sergeant Mark Meredith, commonly and widely and very affectionately known as Mero, who has served this community on the Thin Blue Line for 37 years. And we collectively, our region and our state and our city, owe him a debt of gratitude. And again, I would hope that you would all join me in wishing Mero a very, very happy and productive retirement. I would also just like to give a shout out to somebody who has similarly served our community. Councillors might recall that back in May, I made mention of the fact that the decision had been made by Create New South Wales to not to extend core funding to Arana Arts, which is an organisation that has served the arts and culture community of this region, including our LGA, for more than 20 years. This week came the announcement of a significant restructure of Arana Arts, one of the results of which is the redundancy of its long-serving RADO, or Regional Arts Development Officer, Alicia Leggett, whom many of you will know in a number of different roles. Alicia has again served our community through the arts and through culture, and through her deep and abiding dedication to art for 14 years. And I hope that she won't be lost to our region, because not only has she served the Arana Arts and the arts and culture community, she has also been is very, very active in the Wellington community through Rotary and other organisations down there. So I hope that the ultimate decision to make her redundant from that position doesn't further impact the community than it already does. So congratulations to Alicia on her tenure. All the very best from us all, I hope, for whatever awaits.
Thank you. Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I too want to congratulate Councillor Dickerson for the Tour de Oroc and the raising of the funds. Absolutely agree that the homestay is a worthy cause, and I will take you up on your challenge, Councillor Richardson, to go up there on a Thursday night. Might need a bit of help because I'm not much of a cook, but anyway. I did want to say that I had the privilege over the last 6 weeks to attend 3 of the 4 village roadshow that councillors have gone out to, 4 sites across our villages, and it's just been amazing to watch the interaction between our executive team, our councillors, and the community around some of the things that they raise. And they were really amazing conversations, whether they were pointed or not. But I mean, the last one we attended, which was Stewart Town, I have to give them a gold star for a wonderful little catering for us for, some yummy chocolate cake and stuff. But, the conversation was great. But I have to say too, what I really liked was the bus tour. When we were all on the bus to those villages, the conversation, the rich chatting is just building relationships between the councillors, and I love it. So thank you to staff for arranging those, and I'm sure they'll happen again. Actually, before I go, I also wanted to say thank you to the executive for the way that they managed some of those questions and how they were able to be very, respectful in the ways that they did that. So thank you to the staff. I also wanted to just say that I was fortunate to be on the, the recruitment panel, and I wanted to congratulate the director, Luke Ryan, for his interim. But I also wanted to say how difficult it was. What a great leadership team Dubbo has. We are graced with fantastic, skilled people, and any one of those applicants would have done, will do an amazing job. So I just wanted to be really open about that it was very, very difficult, but we love you all. Yeah, love yous all. I had the opportunity recently to go to a meeting with First Nations people, and particular governance groups like the Aboriginal Community Working Party, the Three Rivers Regional Assembly, and other key stakeholders in the community, and was really, feeling a little bit targeted, but that's okay because that's why we're here, to understand the nuances between things that are happening within council, some of the things that some of our community are really concerned about around the repatriation of the grinding grooves that were down in under the bridge, the new bridge, as well as the removal of the wall that was taken down when all of the work started. And that wall was actually erected initially by people from the Stolen Generations group, and there's quite significant history and conversation that goes with that. So I didn't get to stay for the whole meeting, but I did want to shout out that they took an active role. They jumped on a bus and went down to the site, looking at, where's the toilet going to go, and probably not enough space for it, but where do they erect the wall, what's happening with the grinding grooves. And it's really important that we keep the First Nations people engaged and involved in these types of really important information. So I just wanted to make a mention of that. I also had the opportunity to, and was invited to a dinner with the School of Rural Health. They brought up a number of First Nations young students to Dubbo to, sorry, I'm probably stealing some of your thunder too. I didn't say. And just to meet with those young students about, trying to entice them to come over to do a medicine disciplinary in through the School of Rural Health, because they were just so engaged. They love the program and they want to see it promoted more. And I take my hat off to a very good friend of mine, Dr. Emma Webster, who does a lot of that work, and also Cheryl on the night, Cheryl RC, who did a great piece of work. We just love talking to those. I've got a bit of love tonight. Talking to those kids and trying to get them to sway or shift their studies. Want to let everybody know that this Friday the Dubbo Dubbo NAIDOC ball will be here. We were able to re-establish it, so hopefully people will know about that and going along. So that will be a good thing. And finally, I want to give a huge shout out to Dubbo Touch Association. They held on Sunday just gone, they held their 50th anniversary of Touch occurring in Dubbo, and that's fantastic. And I was able to be a part of that, and able to be a part of the team that took out the grand final. So, not that I did much on that field. Certainly, the grandchildren and the children did that. I just did pointing, and you do that. So, but the memorabilia tent that the association pulled together, a lot of work went into that, and to walk around the memorabilia and to see all of Dubbo participation over that 50 years was amazing. Some of the pictures not so flattering for some of us, namely me, but to know that I've been a part of that for 30 years, and knowing that I've been able to bring, you know, my children, my grandchildren through that and be a part of the Dubbo Touch family is really satisfying. And I know there are people in this organisation that are also part of the Dubbo Touch family. And so I just wanted to give them a shout out. They did an amazing job. And at the end of the day, there was a band and jumping castles and things like that. And it was just a really beautiful event. And I just wanted to give them a shout out. So thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Councillor Ryan.
Oh, look, I'm not going to lie. I feel like I'm piggybacking off everyone. It's like when people write on a birthday card, I normally just add my name to someone else's, and Adam. So I'll do that. But look, seriously, I've got 4 things. First one was congratulations to Emily Holmes and the committee that organised the Wellington Park Run. So it's good to see that be up and running. It was a small launch, but you know what? It's only going to get bigger and better. So congratulations to those guys. The next one was the villages, the road shows that we did. I did miss a couple. I was MIA, but the last one we did was Stewarttown, and I concur with everything that people said. The bus trip was hot, but it was good. And just the people, like the people of Stewarttown that were very accommodating, you know, with their food and whatnot, but very respectful too. You know, there was a lot of questions and debate, I suppose, but at the end of the night, you know, we all mingled and had a yarn and had a cuppa and talked about different things. On what Councillor Toyton said, Nanama Hill clean-up, Craig Rose and the boys at Dubbo yard maintenance and renovations. You know, when we done that video and whatnot of all the rubbish, it was that night that Craig sent an inbox and said, I will bring my trucks and my machinery there and I'll clean it up for you. Like, he volunteered. We didn't have to reach out to him. He reached out to us. So, you know what? Big shout out to Craig and the boys. Champions, leading the way in our community. And the last thing, the rural health. I was lucky to be invited to that as well. You know, having Indigenous uni students coming out to Dubbo, you know, our population, you know, it's well known we're a high Indigenous population. So if we can attract doctors and medical students out to this region, which we're very short of at the moment, you know, we'll do what we can to support that. That's it. Yeah. No dramas. I'll finish the birthday card, you know.
Thank you. Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Only one for me today, and actually I'll flick this around. If you haven't got a chance, go out and grab this. Oh, it's on the screen there. There you go. Go and grab this month's Street Machine magazine. Massive shout out to the guys at Dubbo Motorfest. That a lot of people say to me, you know, Dubbo needs an event. I was like, well, Dubbo's got an event, and in its 3rd year, it's probably already the biggest single one-day event the city has. 6 pages in this month's Street Machine magazine as a promotion of the city and the event is testament that this thing's got legs. And if you don't want to get the magazine and lick your finger and turn the pages, jump online. There's an article on there for it as well. So well done to all the team as part of Motorfest. It'll be bigger and better again next year, and it's on a national stage now in that magazine. So well done to all the teams. So.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury.
I'm good for tonight. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Toynton.
Shameful. Everyone else gave something. So I've been taking notes since the last meeting, so I thought we'll summarise the month. So first off, we had the students and teachers of Stewarttown Mumble had their Stumble Broadway show. It was a great night. The mayor was there with me. Some very talented kids. So hats off to the organisers and the parents and teachers and that. It was a really, really great night out. We had our Village Road show out to Yamunjeri. We've had a citizenship ceremony that saw over 70 people take the last step in becoming Australian citizens. I met with Wilson, who took me around Dubbo and showed me the accessibility issues he has with getting his wheelchair to certain areas, and how he has to travel down certain roads a little bit longer before he can actually get up to a suitable spot to move it. Up until that point, I didn't realise how certain wheelchairs have certain different points of balance on them, so it was something that was the reason for one of my questions on notice tonight. But it really does put it into perspective when you get to people's level with mobility issues, and you see what we take for granted is an absolute challenge to some people and how they adapt to those things. Following on, we had our Village Roadshow to Elong and Ballymore. We had the Reboot Mindset Academy with Todd Carney. In October, I organised a visit to Golland, like one of our roadshows. Councillors, ELT and the CEO were invited. Councillor Richardson was at Canberra, standing up with the Stop Boree Solar crew. Councillor Ivey was in Tasmania. The Mayor had a prior commitment, as did the CEO. Councillor Butler did attend with me. It was a great night out, and I just want to give a shout out to Mark Conn and Gary Todd for making that event possible. So if they aren't watching now, I'll make sure they see the video of the playback. I attended a community organised event with Councillor Richardson regarding concerns over the zoning of South Dubbo. So I'll just say, she's not here in the public gallery, but congratulations to Amanda Pepinell for organising that event. Bruno Afodi had his Tradies Insight Curry Night. Now, for those who don't know about Tradies Insight, if you are starting out, particularly as an apprentice, or you're having some difficulties finding your feet in the workplace, honestly, give Bruno a call. Go and see him. It's a great thing. It doesn't cost you anything to just go and speak to these people. They've come up through the ranks with these experiences. So if you're having a hard time at work, you're not alone. So go and see these guys, have a chat, have a feed, find your feet. I can't stress that enough. It's just a wonderful organisation, Tradies Insight. Then we had our last Village Roadshow to Stewarttown. We toured Mumble and Eucarina. So thanks to the organisers and to Marcus Haney and the Stewarttown Progress Association and Action Group. And as always, and tonight will be no exception to the rule, I like to finish these on a positive note. So some news from Coomabella. So on the 27th of September, Mr. and Mrs. Newberry had their wedding. I'd like to say we did have a chat with Luke Ryan, so thanks for getting that grader moved so they could have the photos of their family property. That was wonderful. Yeah. Was it one of their brand new ones or no? No. Yeah, good. Get that old thing out of the picture. One of the shiny one out there. And more good news from Coomabella. Mr. and Mrs. Whitaker had their wedding on the 11th of October, so congratulations to you guys. And the last congratulations for the night is congratulations to Luke Ryan on his appointment as our interim general manager. Well done. And that's about it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Just very quickly, last week I attended...
Councillor Ivy's on.
Oh, I forgot. Councillor Ivey. Out of sight, out of mind.
Fine, surely, Mr. Mayor. Just quickly, I like Councillor Toyton. I usually like to try to be positive, but there is just one thing. I think most councillors did receive some photos from Mark Conn about the old chestnut of the Coomabella crossing. Well, not in full flood, but certainly in quite a lot of flood. I know that it's been an issue. I know that council has got its hands tied to some extent through fisheries and things of actually getting an excavator in there and clearing the downside of Spices Creek so that perhaps doesn't stop the flooding, but at least it means that the water gets away much quicker. And can I just shout out to Mark Conn and say, look, I do appreciate his involvement in that and bringing it to our attention. And please, as through the staff, can we just get some action out there, more action than it's been? I think that there's been 2 or 3 years now, and surely in that time we can make a better effort of clearing Spices Creek than we've done. Thank you.
Thank you, and Councillor Ivey, you'll be happy to note it. As I understand it, things are in progress there with Director Ryan. Just very quickly, last week I had the great opportunity to attend the 10th anniversary in Wesley Hall over here of the monthly Koori Wellbeing Support Group meeting, and what a fantastic organisation. It's not a huge organisation, but it's really important. What was identified 10 years ago and operates each month People who go along, might add about 23 oldies there and a whole heap of other people. It's the University of Sydney medical students do free medical checks on the oldies who come along, the grannies. The LHD and the PHN put some money in, and it really targets a specific part of the society that's been identified as needing this service. And they get a healthy meal, a free healthy meal. There's a free raffle, and the prizes, all potatoes and veggies that people can cook up at home, cook a healthy meal, and it's good to get people out of the house and socialise. So well done to all those involved, and great little monthly meeting. Also, the NAIDOC ball this Friday night, looking forward to that. We'll have done the big double, Wellington and Dubbo. So looking forward to the rescheduled NAIDOC ball. Next up, we have confidential items. Under Section 10A of the Local Government Act, the next items being CCL 25 288, 289 and 290 have been identified as likely to be discussed in a closed session of council. Can I now have someone move us into confidential session to deal with the confidential items? It's everywhere. Councillor Wells and Cowley, seconded. We have no applications from members of the public to make their representations regarding whether the meeting should be closed to the public. Do any members of the public in the public gallery have any comments to make regarding the proposal to hear the items in a closed session of council under Section 10A4 of the Act, arguments for or against confidentiality? There being none, I now put that. Please cast your votes. I'll now close that. Carried unanimously. I declare the motion carried unanimously. We will now move into closed session at time being 9:09 p.m. The streaming will now be turned off, and any members of the public will be asked to leave the chamber. The chamber will be reopened and the live stream restarted after deliberations on these matters, with the resolutions to be made public. Please stop the web streaming. The council returned to open session at 9:13 p.m. Welcome back. I'll now ask the Governance Officer to play the resolutions from the confidential session. There are no further items for consideration of the ordinary council meeting. I declare the meeting closed, the time being 9:14 p.m. The web streaming has now been completed. Thank you for your attendance. Please stop the web streaming.